Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto becomes leader of Uzushiogakure Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for Part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. The first thing he heard was the sound of a thunderous explosion. The entire ground shook terribly. The house in which he was sleeping shook as well. It was enough to destroy any sense of sleep from his body. Bolting from his bed, he quickly made his way towards the wardrobe of his room. Opening the wooden door, he quickly took out a dark black-colored shirt and blue-colored pants. The shirt had a spiral symbol on its back. He rapidly strapped the vest around his body, and strapped his kunai pouch on his thigh. Wrapping his green-colored tough flak jacket around his chest, he tied his headband around his right arm. Picking up a small, sharp tanto, he placed it on the cover strapped on his back. Stepping in front of the mirror, he was satisfied with the image he saw. Name: Naruto Uzumaki. Age: 13. Rank: Chunin. Ninja registration number: 24401. Affiliation: Uzushiogakure, the Hidden Whirlpool Village. The young shinobi was nearly 5 feet 3 inches tall. He had long, silky dark red hair. One of his eyes was concealed by a long bang. He was extremely fair and had piercing blue-colored eyes. His body sported well-built muscles. A fine black-colored face mask concealed his identity. With one last glance at his reflection, he made his way towards the window. A moment later, the apartment was empty. The young Chunin was rapidly leaping through rooftops, his sensory powers clearly pointing towards a heated battle happening near the northern border of the village. The number of fighters engaged in battle were too many to count. That could only mean that they were under attack from another major hidden village. Or several of them. Nothing could be said for certain. The Third Great Ninja War had started a few months. While Yuza had decided to stay neutral, it would be futile to deny the fact that it was on the hit list of every ninja village. After all, theirs was the technologically most advanced village. While small in size and population in comparison to the other major villages, it had ninjas that were more stronger and talented. But most of all, they had knowledge of many hidden arts that were not known to any of the villages. Particularly Fuinjutsu, sealing arts. He didn't stop even when 2 more people arrived by his side. They easily matched with his pace and started accompanying him to the battle zone. One was a short, red-haired body who had dark purple-colored eyes. He was fair-skinned and was wearing the Chunin uniform. The Yuza headband being proudly tied around his forehead. His hair were almost covering both of his eyes, and unlike Naruto, who was carrying a tanto, this boy was carrying a large scroll on his back. He had served beside this boy for the past 4 years, graduated the academy with him, was placed on the same genin team and went on to become a Chunin with him. It was fair to say Nagato Uzumaki was one of his closest and most trusted friends. The other person was a girl. Unlike the 2 redhead boys, she had light silver-colored hair, a rare trait in a village such as theirs. She was fair-skinned and had the body of a kunoichi. Her long, silky hair were tied in a ponytail. She was also wearing a Chunin vest, with a special insignia of field medic attached to her left arm. She had an angular face, and a smile that would make many young males fall for her. Yet despite her sexy looks, 13-year-old Akino Uzumaki was a deadly kunoichi. Like Nagato, she had also graduated together with Naruto, and had been on the same genin team. The trio had been promoted together to Chunin, and had performed many successful missions in the past. "Naruto, what's going on?" asked Nagato. The boy sounded quite worried. Even nervous. "We're being attacked, Nagato." "This should be clear enough for you," scolded Akino, clear irritation and tension visible in her eyes. "Why? Our village has absented from participating in the war," argued Nagato, sounding quite confused and a hint of betrayal seeping into his voice. "I don't know. I just hope Konoha sends aid as soon as possible. There are just too many enemy forces for us to repel, and what troubles me is the fact that they managed to find the location of our village. Nobody in the past 60 years were unable to even get a hint of our location," said Akino. She took a rather forceful jump in frustration, cracking one of the rooftops. "Focus on the task at hand first. The time for making assumptions will come later." Both the young arguing Chunins stared at their last teammate, the one who had stayed silent till now. It was extremely hard for them to understand even now that Naruto was actually Kushina Uzumaki's son. Considering how loud, boisterous the redhead woman was, her son was an entire different person. He was kind, friendly, and deeply cared about his village and its citizens. Even went as far as calling each of them as his family. And at the same time, he was quite reserved as well. Naruto was one of their talented upcoming ninjas and had rapidly rose through the ranks due to his power. While Nagato was shy, Akino was a hothead, Naruto was the rational head of their team. Unlike his mother, he had an uncanny habit of remaining composed even in the most difficult situations. A trait which he possibly inherited from his unknown father. Maybe it was the absence of a father in the boy's life that had transformed him into the person he was today. Kushina had never revealed the identity of Naruto's father, and inside a village which greatly valued parental lineage, it directly made Naruto an outcast. Akino could still remember when Naruto was bullied on this fact by his fellow students. At first the boy was quite disturbed, but over time he stopped caring about the jabs. Instead he decided to prove himself by becoming the strongest ninja of their village. An ambition he still followed till this day. Graduating at the top of his class, performing the maximum number of genin missions, many of them extremely dangerous, acing the Chunin tournament of their village, these were among the few notable achievements of the young boy. Yet he was not famous for these facts, but for another reputation. He never took prisoners. Their thoughts were interrupted when Naruto suddenly stopped. Wordlessly he knelt down and placed one of his fingers on the rooftop. Nagato and Akino stopped as well. It was not a defined thing, and even if they all shared the same rank, it was a mutually accepted fact that Naruto was the leader of their team. "I'm sensing several enemy platoons approaching from the east side," reported Naruto, his voice still calm. Yet one look in his eye and years of staying by his side was enough for his friends to see even he was disturbed with this revelation. The Uzukage had personally booby-trapped the entire area. "I don't think they'll get through, we should focus on the north sector where the real fight is going on," suggested Akino, as Naruto shifted his gaze towards Nagato. Despite being talented, he valued the opinion of his comrades who also happened to be his best friends. "I think we should check the eastern side, just to be sure," said Nagato, his voice uncertain as a bead of sweat rolled down on his pale face. "I agree." "Akino?" asked Naruto, his piercing blue eyes asking the unsaid question. The silver-haired girl sighed. "Fine. I'll inform the Uzukage, then we'll go check it out," agreed Akino, receiving a faint thankful smile from Naruto. One which she happily returned with a grin. A seal glowed on Nagato's right hand, as Akino bit her thumb and wrote a coded message. A moment later the mark along with the blood disappeared, leaving no trace of its existence. "Done," said Nagato confidently. "Nice work. Let's go with deformation," suggested Naruto calmly, receiving 2 affirmative nods from his teammates. "Let's go." Naruto had an extremely worried expression on his face. Beside him, Akino and Nagato were tightly clenching their fists, their eyes burning with anger. When they had arrived on the eastern borders of their village, they had not expected the enemy forces to be on the verge of breaking through nearly all the barriers. No matter how skilled ninjas the enemy had, it would be nearly impossible for them to break through the Uzumaki defenses. "It's as I feared," thought Naruto worriedly, not expressing his opinion out loud in order to keep his comrades focused. As right in front of him, he saw Matsuo Uzumaki standing ahead of the large Kuma forces, his hands slowly disabling the various traps set by his own village. "Now we know why Matsuo never reported back to the village. He was captured by the enemy," said Naruto frankly. "We should save him," said Nagato seriously, the boy sounding quite determined for a change. "I agree. He's one of our own, the enemy has definitely placed him under a genjutsu. Otherwise he would have never done something like this," said Akino passionately. "How should we do this?" asked Nagato quickly. "Stand down." The 2 Chunin were surprised when Naruto gave that order in a painful tone. Despite his face mask concealing his face, they could see he was gritting his teeth. He was holding a sharp kunai strapped with an explosive tag in his right hand. "Naruto," said Nagato worriedly. "What are you thinking?" asked Akino uncertainly. "We can't save him, there are simply too many enemy forces surrounding him. And then there is that man," pointed Naruto. His comrades glanced in the direction he was pointing at. They froze. For there, standing behind several Kumo soldiers, was the Sandaime Reikage himself. The man was a beast, and was rumored to be the fastest and most physically strong ninja of their world. "We may be able to eliminate the ninjas, grab Matsuo, but we would never be able to outrun from the Reikage. All of us could definitely be killed," said Naruto sadly. "But if we don't do something, Matsuo will," said Nagato in a troubled voice. Akino saw the kunai in Naruto's hand trembling. The young boy was taking sharp breaths, and in that moment she knew what he was going to do. "We have to stop Matsuo," said Naruto bitterly. "What? No, he's our comrade. We can't harm him, argued Nagato passionately. The boy seemed extremely shocked with what his friend had just suggested. There is no choice, Nagato replied Akino compassionately, placing her hand over the shocked boy's arm. Naruto, we took an oath to protect our comrades, said Nagato tirelessly, and saw Naruto glancing away from his piercing gaze. In the past, many of our shinobi have died for the protection of the village. Neither we or Matsuo are any different, said Naruto sadly. No, we can save him. Don't give up so easily, said Nagato furiously. Think about the village, Nagato. We cannot rescue Matsuo without getting ourselves killed, and that would just further weaken the village in this desperate hour. Try to understand the situation, pleaded Naruto. But... do you trust me, Nagato? Asked Naruto calmly. Yes. Then follow my lead, requested Naruto. Nagato looked towards Akino, who gave a firm nod. He still had doubts, yet he trusted Naruto enough to do the right thing. He reluctantly consented, earning a relieved smile from Naruto. Naruto focused his vision. A few seconds later he threw the kunai. The weapon sped through the air at great speed, and landed several meters away from Matsuo. The Kumo forces became alert and took defensive formations, and it was that moment when the explosive tag attached on the kunai went off. Boom! Matsuo was sent sailing away due to the shockwave released from the explosion. He crashed in the nearby bushes with a small thud. Despite the injury, Akino sensed the man was still breathing. Just completely knocked out. The two of them stared at Naruto, who had a satisfied smile on his face. Then the boy did something unexpected. Rising out of his cover in the trees, Naruto suddenly made himself visible to the surprised Kumo forces. The boy gave them a straight middle finger. Worthless jarheads, taunted Naruto. Akino and Nagato stared at their friend in surprise. Naruto literally grabbed them by the collar the next second and started running away. There were several angry shouts from the now enraged enemy troops who had launched themselves in hot pursuit. The three Yuzuchunin smirked when the Kumo forces started getting hit by the hidden traps set by the Yuzukage. With Matsuo completely out of commission, it would be quite time-consuming for them to break through. And it would cost them many lives. Nagato smiled proudly as he followed Naruto, with a grinning Akino right beside him. They may have been unable to rescue their comrade, but they didn't kill him and also bought time for their village to prepare further countermeasures. You upheld your oath of protecting your comrades and the village at the same time, Naruto thought Akino fondly. Guys, we're being summoned back to the Kage Tower. Katsuro-sama wants to meet us urgently, informed Nagato, correctly reading the message which had appeared through a seal on his arm. Naruto and Akino exchanged quick nods. Orders acknowledged, said Naruto seriously. The atmosphere in the war room was extremely grim. Naruto, Nagato and Akino crisply stood in a corner of the room along with several young chunin of their age. All of them seemed quite anxious, even nervous, their eyes fixed on the form of their Yuzukage, who was currently going through the situation assessment with the top jounin of the village. Naruto was not an expert in tactical warfare, but so far he could see three very large red pieces surrounding his village. Kumo is the first one, then Kiri will definitely be the second. They have always envied us, but who could be the third? Suna is too far to launch such an attack, Konoha wouldn't attack us or risk losing Kachan's loyalty, and we all know how important she is to the citizens of the Fire Nation. That would only leave Iwa. I knew Anoki was crazy, but would he really go this far? Thought Naruto worriedly. It was quite difficult for him to accept that three rival hidden villages who had just started fighting against each other again, had suddenly united against his small nation. Naruto. He was brought out of his troubled thoughts when someone called for him. Akino nudged him, and he saw it was none other than the Yuzukage himself. Katsuro Uzumaki was a 50-year-old veteran ninja. He had been through the first two great ninja wars, and had shared close ties with both Hashirama and Tobarama Senju. The man's prowess in Fuinjutsu was enough to even make the five Kages accept him as an equally powerful warrior. He was also the one who had helped in transferring the Kyuubi back into Kushina, when Mito Uzumaki, the first container of the Nine Tails, neared the end of her life. Naruto stepped before his leader and knelt before him. I assume you understand the situation, Naruto said Katsuro kindly, in a grandfatherly voice. The enemy forces have us outnumbered and surrounded. But we can defeat them, we are with you. All of us, Katsuro-sama replied Naruto confidently. The veteran Kage and his aide glanced around the room and received proud nods from the young teen chunits. It only lifted the Kage's shoulders proudly, as he placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. This is the will of Yuzu, which burns brightly in all of you. I want you all to carry it with you for the rest of their lives, advised Katsuro kindly, and was not surprised when Naruto looked at him defiantly. We can fight. Send us to the front line, and we will crush the enemy for the village, promised Naruto. Every young Chunin nodded seriously. I have no doubt about your skills and bravery. But we are heavily outnumbered, and I won't send all younglings to their deaths. It is also our duty to protect the civilians. If I send every fighter to the front, who will protect them if the enemy breaks through? Asked Katsuro patiently. What about support from Konoha? Asked Nagato hopefully, and saw the disappointment in his leader's eyes. I have sent word to Kushina a few hours ago. But we are yet to receive response. But I know they shall come to our aid, reassured Katsuro. He was satisfied when many of his Chunin sighed in relief. Yet Naruto stared at him blankly. Please tell us the real situation, Katsuro-sama requested Naruto, making the older man smile a little. You were always too observant, Naruto. How bad is it? Asked Akino worriedly. The Kage took in a deep breath. Yuzu will fall, confessed the Kage. Shocked gasps were heard across the room. Many of them Chunin went pale with fear. Akino saw Nagato was on the verge of tears, and even she herself was no better. Then I'll stay behind with the other veteran ninja. Katsuro-sama, you and the others escape as soon as possible, said Naruto confidently, his eyes calm and determination burning brightly in them. Before the touched Kage could even speak, almost every other young Chunin stepped forward and knelt beside Naruto. We'll try to buy as much time as possible, promised Akino. Just get the civilians and our families to safety, requested Nagato politely. The boy was actually calm for a change. Everyone, said Katsuro, a lone tear falling from his eye. Yuzu is not the bricks or walls of the village, but the people. We may lose our homeland, but as long as our people live on, there can be a future for them. But they will need a leader like you to guide and protect them. We are expendable, and as long as each of us draws breath, we'll fight to give you that future, promised Naruto. Pin-drop silence prevailed in the war room, as the shocked Kage and his aide looked at all the Chunin. Not even one of them backed away, all of them proudly standing behind the form of Naruto. That's where you're wrong, Naruto said Katsuro kindly, and placed his hands around Naruto's shoulders, making the boy stand up. The other Chunin also followed the action. I don't understand. We're just Chunin, our lives are not as valuable as yours. We want to defend our people, insisted Naruto. You're talented, Naruto. But you have much to learn. All of you are the best warriors in the elemental nations. But it does not change the fact that the enemy has us outnumbered and surrounded. More than that, there are 3 powerful Kages leading the charge. Even all of you combined cannot face one veteran Kage, explained Katsuro briefly, making many young teens flinch. But protested Naruto. The children are the future of any civilization. If I let our children sacrifice themselves, then I will be betraying our entire family, and will never be able to face my ancestors, much less forgive myself. I am proud to have soldiers like you, and it gives me hope for the future. I want you all to divide yourselves into small teams. Each team shall take a small contingent of civilians with them. Old men, women, and children. You will take different routes and lead our people into Fire Nation. I've sent word to the Hokage. You all will be given shelter in Konoha, explained Katsuro, and saw some tension vanishing from many of the teens' faces. Can we trust them? Asked Naruto skeptically. I know Hiruzen Sarutobi. Despite our differences, he is an honorable man. Kushina will help our people in settling down, when the situation is resolved, and if I'm alive, then we shall think about regaining our lost territory. Until then, we must protect our people at all costs, said Katsuro seriously. I won't abandon you, said Naruto stubbornly, making the old Kage chuckle fondly. The Uzukage placed a firm hand on Naruto's shoulder and gave him a reassuring smile. Have some faith in me, son. Besides, Kushina will kill me if I let you participate in such a suicidal battle, which is still beyond your league, said Katsuro kindly, making the others chuckle. Naruto remained stoic. I am a shinobi and old enough to make my own decisions. Please let me fight beside your side, pleaded Naruto. Ah, the good old rebellious teen. What interesting lives they live, thought Katsuro fondly. Try to look at the situation rationally rather than emotionally, Naruto. I'm sure you will understand. And if that is not enough to make you understand, then consider this an order from your Kage. Protect the civilians and get them to Konoha, no matter the cost, said Katsuro sternly. Naruto's fists clenched tightly, as he glared at his leader. Much to the surprise of his fellow Chunin, yet Katsuro simply smiled. I can't run away like this, said Naruto aggressively. You're not running away, Naruto. You are simply making a strategic retreat to protect the civilians. Once the situation is under control, we will take the fight back to the enemy. Don't be so eager to die, son. You're still young, your time will come, advised Katsuro patiently. Kneel. Naruto blinked. So did the others. Regardless, they quickly obeyed their leader's orders and knelt before him. The old Kage's wrinkled face still shined brightly, his bright red hair flowing in the air. His bulky figure looming over them as the old man took out his sword and placed it on Naruto's shoulder. Be without fear in the face of your enemies. Be brave and kind, so that our ancestors may love you. Strive for truth and peace, even if it leads to your end. Safeguard the helpless and oppose the wicked, that is your oath. Slap. The old Kage inflicted a tight slap on Naruto's cheek, leaving a bright red mark behind as the boy looked at him in surprise. The Kage smirked. And that is so you remember it, said Katsuro with a chuckle. The old man slowly made Naruto stand up, with the other Chunin following suit. Rise, a guardian, finished Katsuro proudly. He smiled when all the Chunin gave him crisp, devoted salutes. Naruto included, even as a lone tear slipped from the boy's eyes. One of the Kage's aide gave a scroll to a curious Nagato, and soon enough the Chunin quickly started to exit the room in order to carry out their mission. Naruto, Nagato, and Akino also started to run towards the exit, when the Uzukage's voice stopped them. Turning around, they were surprised to see the Kage giving them a crisp salute. I leave the Uzumaki to you. Protect them, said Katsuro proudly. In return, the three youngsters shifted to attention and looked their brave Kage straight in the eye. We will. Naruto stared at the burning form of his dear village, and the hundreds of enemy fighters pouring inside his home. Beside him, Nagato had tears in his eyes, while Akino and a few other Chunin had their fists clenched, anger and sadness burning in their eyes. He blinked away the tears that threatened to spill from his eyes. Taking a deep breath and remembering his oath he made to Katsuro, he turned towards his ninjas and the nearly 250 civilians whom they were assigned to protect and transport to Konoha. Many of them were crying, several were trembling with fear and anxiety, some were just sitting defeatedly waiting for death. All of them were surprised when Naruto stepped forward, his young, determined eyes staring right into their defeated gazes. You all think we're the unlucky ones, don't you? We have lost our home, our leader, our families. Limited supplies, limited people, and stranded deep inside enemy lines. Maybe it would have been better for us to die quickly, beside our warriors and our Uzukage, instead of dying out here slowly. Where shall we go? What shall we do? Said Naruto loudly. Akino gasped in horror on hearing what Naruto was saying. Nagato flinched on seeing how further depressed the civilians and even their few ninjas were becoming. Centuries ago our forefathers founded our Uzumaki clan. They too were attacked like us, they too had their homes taken away, yet they fought on. They never gave up hope, they gave us our future through their sacrifice. Look around you, at your kids, at the person beside you. If you want to die, then I will gladly walk with you back towards the enemy forces, and we can die an honorable death. Or we can fight on. We can show our enemies that we are not defeated, that the Uzumaki can never be defeated as long as even one of us remains. On the memory of our ancestors, our beloved Kage, our martyred friends and families, I, Naruto Uzumaki, pledge to find us a new home, declared Naruto. The young Chunin looked his people in the eye, and walked between them. The journey won't be easy, we shall face many hardships, but we will rebuild our home, our family. We will not give up, said Naruto proudly. The boy stood at attention and gave a crisp salute to his people. So say we all. Akino and Nagato stepped beside Naruto, stood beside their friend shoulder to shoulder and saluted their people. So say we all. The remaining ninjas rallied behind Naruto one after another, and yelled in proud, determined voices. The civilians also rose back to their feet and proudly looked at their new leader. So say we all. So say we all. So say we all. So say we all. The Uzumaki Chronicles had just begun. Akino sat atop a branch of a tall tree, her gaze fixed between the perimeter they had created and her group of civilians as well as few remaining Uzu ninjas. It was nearly evening, and their people seemed to be relaxing a little. Not that she could blame them, since the past few days had been extremely hard, even brutal. Escaping from Uzu had not been easy. The enemy forces were hell-bent on killing every last Uzumaki who resisted. Those who wanted to surrender would only be turned into slaves. Their group had gone through many hardships. Lack of food, water, sleep, and loads of fatigue were the most noticeable ones. To her surprise, Naruto had taken over the role of the leader of their group. Although, he didn't have much of a choice in that matter since none of the other ninjas were willing to take the lead. Yet that decision turned out to be the right one. So far, Naruto's calm, collected attitude was the only reason the civilians had not panicked and done something crazy. Yet she knew something was going inside her friend's mind. The way his eyebrows furrowed up, the manner in which he cynically listened to anything relating to Konoha, his constant alert attitude even when they all entered Fire Nation made her arrive at a disturbing conclusion. Naruto didn't trust Konoha. And she couldn't understand why. She was interrupted from her thoughts when Noda, a fellow Chunin, tapped her shoulder. Both of them exchanged firm nods, and a faint smile came on Akino's lips as her guard shift was finished. Hopping off the tall tree, she marched towards the only person who could answer the stupid question that was plaguing her heart. She raised an eyebrow when she saw Nagato and Naruto standing there. The boys seemed to be discussing something while looking at the map placed on the ground before them. I want you to set up barriers here, here, and here. Traps should be set in every direction. And I want 4 scouts to patrol the perimeter for shifts of 2 hours each. Then the next group will take watch. Can you make that happen, Nagato? Asked Naruto seriously. Yeah, I can. But don't you think you're being overly cautious? Asked Nagato hesitantly. He's right. We've shaken off the enemy forces in pursuit, and now we are in Fire Nation's borders. We're safe for the moment, chimed Akino, as she arrived beside her 2 comrades. Don't be naive, Akino. We'll never be safe, said Naruto harshly, his stone-cold eyes staring into her own. The Uzukage said that he has already sent word to the Hokage. We have, argued Nagato. Katsuro-sama is dead. And dead men have no rights, said Naruto flatly, making his 2 friends flinch. How can you say that? He could still be alive, said Nagato hesitantly, making Naruto sigh. You are free to believe what you want, Nagato. But it doesn't change reality, and deep down you know it, replied Naruto coldly. Nagato took a step forward, but was stopped when Akino stepped between them. Placing her hand on Nagato's chest, she shook her head. Naruto didn't react to the action. With a frustrated sigh, Nagato walked away, leaving his 2 friends alone. He better carry out the orders I gave him. Or we'll all end up dead, said Naruto, as he focused back on the map. You know he will. Naruto, you don't have to be so hard on him. Nagato is just, suggested Anko, not finding the right words as Naruto looked at her. He still believes in something. A luxury I can't afford, replied Naruto. For the first time, Akino clearly saw the dark marks beneath Naruto's eyes and how his eyes would sometimes blink slowly. When did you sleep last? Asked Akino worriedly, placing her hand on Naruto's cheek. I'll sleep when I'm dead. Akino growled. Grabbing him by the collar of his shirt, she slammed him straight into a nearby tree. Her angry eyes connected with his surprised ones. They stayed like that for a long time. Nothing was said, yet she saw it all in his eyes. They're all dead, whispered Naruto. She wrapped her arms around him the next second. Her tears had long since dried up, yet the sadness remained everlasting in her heart. And Akino knew the boy in her arms felt the same feeling. She was relieved when he hesitantly hugged her back. We'll make it through this. All of us, I promise, said Akino soothingly. I never asked to be leader. I don't know how can I keep everyone safe, confessed Naruto, making her smile. You got us this far without losing anyone. I'd say that's a pretty good start, and more than anything the rest of us could have done in your situation, said Akino proudly. Naruto leaned back and looked the silver-haired girl straight in the eye. He grasped her cheeks with his hands, and spoke in a soft voice. We shouldn't go to Konoha, said Naruto hesitantly. Why? Asked Akino patiently. I can't give you a solid reason. I've got this feeling in my gut, please Akino. You have to trust me, requested Naruto, as she caressed his cheek. I do trust you. But where can we go if not Konoha? Anywhere but there. Akino smiled. It's about her, isn't it? Asked the silver-haired girl, making Naruto look away. There is that too. But this is not just about her. We can't trust Konoha. Where the hell were they when our village was attacked? Why didn't they send help when we called? Why did Kushina ignore our SOS? The answer is simple, they didn't bother, said Naruto harshly. You don't know that. And your mother will never abandon you to die, insisted Akino, as Naruto laughed. Like she didn't abandon me my entire life? Akino grimaced. No matter what she wanted to say, it could never change the fact that despite having parents, Naruto grew up as an orphan. She had heard the story of a young Kushina leaving her infant son in Yuzu. The Yuzukage was the one who looked after Naruto, and the villagers were at the most cordial towards Naruto. He had been alone from the start. There would be regular letters from Kushina, which Naruto replied to at first. But on realizing that his mother was never going to visit him, he just stopped. From then on, he made his own way. Learning everything on his own, becoming a ninja, a strong fighter. But in doing all that, he stopped becoming less and less attached with people. Even now, he wanted to protect their surviving clan members because it was a mission and he cared about them to some extent. But he barely knew even a handful of them. Naruto only trusted very few people, and fortunately she was one of them. But he didn't trust a mother who was never there, because for all he knew Kushina could not even be his mother. And it would be a cold day in hell before he trusted Konoha. The village that was at least partially responsible for his messed up life, the one that took his mother away, and the nation that definitely turned its back when Yuzu needed them most. But they had nowhere else to go. And it made her realize something. You're not coming to Konoha, are you? Asked Akino knowingly, making him smile a little. You know me, replied Naruto with a shrug. Naruto. I'll get the civilians to Konoha and complete my mission. Then I'll leave, confessed Naruto. And go where? Asked Akino irritatedly. Anywhere but Konoha. The world is a large place, I'm sure I'll find my spot, said Naruto coolly. There is a world war going on, Naruto argued Akino, and was surprised on seeing his determined gaze. I am a loyal ninja of Uzushiogakure. I would rather die than swear my loyalty to any other village, not even Konoha. And I have my own goal, said Naruto confidently. What is that? I want to recreate Yuzu, said Naruto proudly. Akino was shocked. It had taken the entirety of the Uzumaki clan to create their village, and that was too before the shinobi nations were formed. And now there were barely a few hundred of them left, out of which barely 50 were ninjas. How could he possibly even dream of such an impossible thing? It's impossible, said Akino in disbelief. So you say. But I will prove you wrong, replied Naruto stubbornly. There can be no peace in this war-torn world, Naruto said Akino sadly, and took a step back when she saw a dangerous fire burning in his eyes. Nagato, who had been silently listening to the conversation from his cover behind a tree, was also intrigued by the determination that was present in Naruto's eyes. To stop this fighting, I'll become the god of this world. With those words, Naruto picked up his tanto and started walking away. Nagato, stop hiding. Grieving and crying won't change anything. The only thing we need to accomplish our desires is power, said Naruto harshly. Akino was stunned. She could not even say a word when Nagato emerged from his hiding spot and quickly joined Naruto. The two boys exchanged firm nods and turned towards their female teammate. We're going to scout the eastern route. Can you keep things under control until we return? Asked Naruto seriously. Nakamura and Toto's groups were going to meet us there. We'll check if they are there or not, said Nagato, getting a nod in return. All right. Be careful, you two. She only received two cocky smirks in return. Nagato had been silently following his friend for the past half an hour. Neither of them had said anything to each other, and the only sound that was made was the occasional thunk when their feet connected with the branches as both of them hopped from tree to tree. Konoha had also entered the Third Great Ninja War, as such most of their shinobi were on the front lines. Thankfully it only allowed the Uzumaki to move a little freely. At least according to Naruto. Did you really mean it? Asked Nagato, making his masked friend look back. Yes. Nagato smirked. It was just like Naruto to answer questions like these with minimum words. How will you bring peace for all of us, which Katsuro-sama wanted? Asked Nagato curiously. I don't know how as of yet, Nagato. But I believe that if I give it my all then it can be achieved. I just have to believe in it. What about you? Questioned Naruto. You're my best friend, Naruto. We've had each other's backs for as long as I remember. If you believe that going to Konoha is not the right choice, then I'll follow you wherever you go, said Nagato contentedly. Just like that? Said Naruto curiously, making Nagato give him a cheeky smile. I'm the only one who can keep up with your stick-up-your-ass attitude, deadpan Nagato. His friend smiled a little. Ass. Nagato smiled on hearing that remark, knowing it was said with affection. As they continued their journey, he heard something which Naruto rarely said to anyone. I'm lucky to have friends like you. A wide smile came on Nagato's face as he stepped beside Naruto. None of them said another word, and silently continued their journey knowing how precious they were to each other. Having fought for the same nation, been on the same team, saved each other's lives, held each other in dire moments, butted heads over simple things, and gone through the same pain. However, the smile disappeared from the boy's face when he sensed something disturbing. Frantically, he activated the seal on his arm and was alarmed when he didn't get any response in return. Naruto warned Nagato. I know, replied Naruto tersely. The two of them madly dashed towards the rendezvous location where they were supposed to meet with the remaining two group of survivors who had escaped from Yuzu. Nagato stopped dead in his tracks, his eyes widened as a shocked gasp escaped from his lips. No, 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 repeated Naruto in a panicked voice, completely losing his calm demeanor which he had managed to maintain till now. Both of them painfully stared at the bodies of nearly 400 clansmen of theirs. The entire Uzumaki camp was on fire, with bodies scattered everywhere. The green grass had turned blood red, trees and bushes destroyed by the heavy fighting. Weapons lay scattered everywhere, with some still being held by their former users. Naruto quickly rushed towards the right side, Nagato followed him. Together they came across Nakamura, who was barely breathing. Nagato, first aid, said Naruto quickly, as Nagato took out his pouch while his friend knelt down to take the injured young Chunin in his arms. Save it, Naruto. It's too late for me, replied Nakamura, coughing up blood. Naruto tried to block the blood flow from the rather large hole in his comrade's stomach, but he was not a medic, and his comrade was too badly injured to be saved. Who did this? Asked Nagato sadly, as he knelt down and grasped the dying 12-year-old's arm. I don't know, they suddenly ambushed us. It was chaos, they were too fast, we couldn't see them, confessed Nakamura. They killed everyone? Asked Naruto furiously. Almost, Naruto, they took the children, I couldn't save them, I'm so. Naruto gasped when the injured boy collapsed in his arms, his eyes closing forever. Nagato gently helped in laying the corpse respectfully back towards the ground and placing the dead boy's sword back in his hands. He saw Naruto quickly wiping away his tears, yet the anger and pain only seemed to be increasing with every passing second. Nagato looked around his massacred people, and only one thought came to his mind. To come this far only to, thought Nagato sadly. Nagato, we need to go, said Naruto painfully. We should bury them, Naruto requested Nagato, and saw the regret in his friend's eyes. There is nothing more we can do for them right now. But we do need to protect our group, let's go, insisted Naruto. Realization dawned on Nagato as he instantly got back on his feet, and both of them started dashing back towards their own group to warn their remaining comrades. The ones who were now the last of the Uzumaki left in the world. Naruto froze. His hands were shaking, legs were trembling, his heart beating madly, eyes flickering from one direction to another. Beside him, Nagato had collapsed on his knees and was openly crying. For there lay in front of them another massacre. Men, women, old people all killed. The same devastation that had rained down on the previous Uzumaki groups had occurred to their own people. Someone had systematically attacked them, wiping out every Yuzu ninja brutally. And there was no sign of Akino anywhere, along with the children of their camp. Naruto quickly took out his tanto, deflecting a hail of sharp kunai that would have killed him and Nagato. His last friend quickly took position behind Naruto's back, his eyes now sharply scanning their surroundings. To their shock, they saw human shadows emerge from every direction. Why didn't we sense them? Asked Nagato worriedly. The only one skilled enough to evade our sensory powers could be Umbu, said Naruto darkly. He was proven right when several ninjas dressed in Umbu uniform emerged from the trees, bushes, ground, water. There were so many of them, their swords still stained with the blood of all the Uzumaki they had previously killed. Not even one of them made a sound, even as they surrounded the two boys from all sides. Get me the shorter one. He can still be of use, instructed a cold voice. Naruto looked up to see another Umbu standing on top of one of the trees. His face covered also by an animal mask like his minions. A large sword being strapped on his back. What Naruto didn't fail to miss was the man's eye on Nagato. Did you kill my people? Asked Naruto icily. So, you're the leader of this group. What a failure you are as a shinobi, taunted the veteran Umbu. Why did you do this? asked Nagato in a broken voice. For the future of the Hidden Leaf, the Uzumaki must be processed, answered the man calmly. You butchered innocent civilians. We were your allies, you bastard! Yelled Nagato in a betrayed voice, tears freely falling from his face. There is no such thing as allies in this ninja world. If you were a true ninja, then you would have understood that no sane village would spend their resources after civilians. Yuzu did this foolish mistake, and paid for it, replied the Anbu coldly. You gave those villages the location of our home. Konoha betrayed us, said Naruto icily, his grip on the tanto tightening even as the Anbu neared towards him. Your alliance was too costly for our village. Giving you hundreds of yen every year, along with food, medical supplies, was too worthless. Instead, we can use these same supplies to establish our dominance over the world. The remaining Uzumaki children will also lead meaningful lives while serving Konoha. I give you the same choice, suggested the Anbu leader. Who are you? Asked Nagato. That seemed to have destroyed any patience left in the Anbu leader. He simply gave a nod, and the next second Naruto froze when two Anbus appeared right in front of him. Slash. Naruto slowly opened his eyes and saw Nagato had placed himself between the two Anbu and his last friend. Two large slashes had appeared across the boy's chest as he stared at Naruto with painful eyes. Run! Nagato collapsed. The Anbus surrounded the trembling boy from all sides, their weapons raised to strike as their leader gave a nod. Naruto's terrified eyes were still fixed on Nagato's unmoving form, his body motionless, eyes closed, a pool of blood forming beneath him drenching the green grass. Memories of Yuzu's destruction, the massacre of his people, Akino's smiling face, Nagato's promise, and finally this. Ah! The Anbu leader's eyes widened and he swiftly jumped several feet away. On the ground, he saw his soldiers desperately grasping their throats. Some were trying to cover the holes that had appeared across their bodies. A few literally got blasted to little pieces. The young Uzumaki was robotically standing on his feet, his eyes turned completely black. Dark layers of energy were swirling around the body. Grasses started to wither, trees began to decay, the dead bodies everywhere started getting deforming to mere bones. You're the Kyuubi Jinchuriki's child. To think she lied to us, said the Anbu leader bitterly. Another group of Anbu who had previously stayed hidden arrived by their leader's side, forming a protective barrier around the man. Their eyes still staring at the freaky boy who was massacring the Anbu on the ground mercilessly. What should we do, sir? Asked one Anbu. This energy spike will definitely alert Konoha's barrier teams. The Hokage will have his best men on the way. Immediately go to Phase 2, instructed the Anbu leader. What should we do about the boy? Asked the young Anbu again. Leave him. We don't know any possible countermeasures to be used against a Meitun, Dark Release, user, nor do we have the time to find out. Besides, he seems to have no control over his powers and is lashing out like a cornered animal. We'll retreat for now, and capture him next time. He will be a valuable asset to our village, instructed the Anbu leader. We already captured most of the Uzumaki children. The rest of the people were simply of no use to us, said the Anbu leader. You made the right call, sir. Yuzu was becoming too much of a liability for us to bear. Through your guidance we were not only able to eliminate a potential threat, but also saved resources and recruited potential assets for our village. We'll handle the cleanup, replied the young Anbu, receiving nods from his fellow comrades. Together they all joined their swords and said in clear voices. For Konoha! Naruto groggily opened his eyes when he felt something hitting the side of his head. At first the sunlight blinded him for a moment, but slowly his vision adjusted according to the environment, and he spotted a large shade of red. Another few moments of trying to clear his vision made him finally see a mop of dark red hair. You made it, said Naruto tiredly. Nagato only gave him a sad nod as he helped his friend get back on his feet. He was surprised when Naruto gave him a short hug. The only thing Nagato could do was place a comforting hand on his friend's shoulder. Told you my healing powers are better than yours, said Nagato calmly, his voice heavy with grief. For a moment, I thought, replied Naruto hesitantly, getting a nod from his friend. We were an assassination squad, Naruto. All of us know how to maintain stealth, and besides my supposed fake death was enough to save the both of us from those Anbu squads, suggested Nagato, not proud of his actions, but he did what was necessary for both of their survival. I don't remember, said Naruto worriedly, as Nagato placed a hand on his shoulder. It's better this way, Naruto. You really don't want to know what happened when you unleashed your dark powers, replied Nagato compassionately. I killed them all, didn't I? It was not a question but a statement. one which Nagato had to reluctantly agree with. Brutally confessed Nagato. I see, was Naruto's only reply. What do we do now, Naruto? Asked Nagato seriously. The former team leader went silent for a few moments, but it wasn't long before he looked his friend straight in the eye. I want to go after our captured people, said Naruto, determination burning in his voice. It's suicide, Naruto. We were no match for those Umbu, and besides there aren't many of us left to rescue. Akino too. Slap. She's alive. And unless I see her cold, dead corpse, I am not giving up on her. And neither am I giving up on the innocent Uzumaki children. Only Kami knows what those Konoha bastards would do to them, said Naruto worriedly, as Nagato caressed his now reddened cheek. We should have listened to you. We should have never came here. It's over. It's all over now, declared Nagato depressingly. It isn't over until I say it's over, yelled Naruto furiously. Nagato was startled. He couldn't believe the raw anger that was burning in his friend's eyes. The desire to retaliate was eating Naruto from the inside. I can't, confess Nagato. The fear he felt on being surrounded by those Umbu again, he was just a chunin, for Kami's sake. The only reason you don't want to go after our comrades is because you lack conviction, spat Naruto, receiving a sharp glare from his friend. And the only reason I couldn't keep them safe in the first place was because I was weak, confessed Naruto, reducing the glare Nagato was giving him. We'll die, Naruto, said Nagato hesitantly. Maybe. Why are you so damn stubborn? Asked Nagato bitterly, and saw Naruto turn away from him. Because Akino and those few remaining children are the only reason left for me to exist. My parents abandoned me, but the Uzumaki are the only family I have left. And I will do anything to protect them, said Naruto in a heavy voice, and Nagato was not sure, but he saw a small tear fall from the usually calm Naruto's eye. What if you fail? Questioned Nagato. Then I'll just die. But until then, I will keep on fighting. Because I am a warrior, not a sheep. And with those words, Naruto took off, leaving a stunned Nagato behind. Naruto furiously leapt through the unending forests of Fire Nation. A smirk came on his face as he spotted another person arriving beside him. And he looked quite displeased. Took you long enough, scolded Naruto, receiving a mock glare from Nagato. You're crazy, said Nagato mildly, making his friend smirk. Wouldn't be the first time. Somehow, that made Nagato smile a little. So, what's the plan? How will we find out where they have taken our people? Or do you just plan to roam aimlessly until you stumble upon a trail? Asked Nagato irritatedly, since he had to run quite a few miles to catch up with his friend and team leader. Already done. When we fled from Yuzu, I carefully planted hidden tracker seals on the children. Those little shits often get lost, so I took that precautionary measure to keep them safe. Who knew it would become so useful now, explained Naruto, as Nagato raised his eyebrows. I didn't know that, said Nagato flatly, as his friend looked ahead. It was a classified information. Only need to know basis, clarified Naruto stoically. And who needed to know? Asked Nagato knowingly. Nobody. Just me. Nagato sighed. This was just like Naruto, making plans by himself. Not that he could say anything in this case, since that move was helping them right now. It were times like these that made him wish Akino was here. She was the only one who could truly understand Naruto. Maybe that was the reason Naruto was so hell-bent on saving their captured people. Or maybe he really cared. It was extremely hard to make conclusions when it came to Naruto, and even after all these years Nagato couldn't truly understand his best friend. Are you going to use your dark powers? Asked Nagato worriedly. Yes, said Naruto coldly. But you can't fully control them, said Nagato worriedly. Katsuro-sama was always teaching me new tricks to use my power for good. I haven't mastered them, but it should be enough to help us in a fight, said Naruto confidently. I still don't understand your powers, replied Nagato sheepishly, making Naruto shrug. Consider them a harmful side effect for being the child of a Jinchuriki. Another one of my mother's great gifts to me, said Naruto sarcastically. You don't miss her, Naruto? Asked Nagato hesitantly. Never knew in her the first place. All I had for a mother my entire life was a picture and few letters, and I don't care where she is or even if she is alive or dead, said Naruto icily. You don't mean that, argued Nagato, making his friend sigh tiredly. My case is different than yours, Nagato. You knew your parents, they loved you and cared for you unlike mine. And they were honorable ninjas who sacrificed their lives for the village, explained Naruto patiently. What about your father? Asked Nagato hopefully. Don't know, don't care, said Naruto coolly. Nagato merely shook his head. It was a futile effort to understand Naruto's attitude towards his blood family. He could only pray they never met face to face, or risk inviting a disaster. A seal glowed brightly on Naruto's hand, as he gave the signal to stop. Both boys quickly took cover in the lush green trees, as Naruto performed a set of hand seals and gently placed his hand on the bark of the tall tree he was hiding in. Nagato did the same. Can you feel them? Asked Naruto seriously. Yes. They're close, possibly underground, confirmed Nagato. Appears to be a large enemy base. Several mazes, we'll have to use our sensory powers at all times or risk getting lost, suggested Nagato. You're right. We do this quietly or risk getting ambushed again. Agreed? Questioned Naruto. Agreed, replied Nagato. Bring out SG, instructed Naruto, still keeping his eyes closed. His senses honed towards the nearby enemy base. Nagato wordlessly brought forward the large scroll on his back, performed a few hand seals, and opened it by spreading a small amount of his own blood on the scroll's surface. Naruto quickly joined by his side, as both boys started gearing up. They were ambushed previously by hunters a few hours ago, and now it was time for the hunter to be hunted. Nagato felt quite nervous. While it was not the first time he was doing something like this, it still made him feel a little uneasy. The reason for this was his entire body being invisible to the naked eye. Well, not entirely. Dark manto, dark cloak. As soon as Naruto had whispered those words, the light around them had dimmed completely. Even the bright sun shining in the sky was not able to cast its light on the two boys, as the shadows of darkness had completely enveloped them. He saw Naruto concentrating deeply in order to solidify his mysterious jutsu, and it was costing his friend a lot of energy, both physically and mentally. The Uzukage had once told Nagato and Akino that their teammate was perhaps the most darkest ninja in the world. Not because of his personality, but due to his powers. Meitun, Dark Release. A power which was yet to be understood by their world. Possibly Naruto was the first to wield it. Kushina Uzumaki, who was Naruto's mother, was also the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. While she never revealed the name of Naruto's father, she did reveal an incident when the Nine-Tails seal almost broke. During one of her vacations, she was on a holiday with her supposed lover. The Kumo shinobi had tried to capture her again, and this had made her quite angry, as she had suffered a similar attempt when she was a child. She had remembered how helpless she had been, and how badly the Kumo ninja had treated her. The raw anger had exploded, and not only did she brutally slaughter the Kumo team, but the Nine-Tails seal also nearly broke. Unfortunately, Kushina was with child at the time. Her body was overloaded with malicious Nine-Tails chakra, which also managed to affect her son, who was still forming inside her womb. The sudden biological attack on young Naruto's still growing form corrupted more than half of his chakra pathways and the network entirely. The tailed beasts were in the end beings made up of chakra and mysterious energy, and were rumored to also possess varied emotions. One tail had bloodlust, and the Nine Tails indirectly granted Naruto this power. But it came at a severe cost. Naruto's chakra reserves were just half in comparison to a regular Uzumaki, and he had problems performing ninjutsu for more than a few hours continuously. If he ever completely masters his dark powers, I don't think he'll even need ninjutsu in the first place, thought Nagato secretly. The Uzukage had personally cared for Naruto during his initial years. For there were incidents when Naruto got angry, and the damage his uncontrollable powers caused was immense. But instead of seeing him as a threat, the wise Uzukage taught Naruto how to control his powers. It was still a work in progress, and Nagato had seen the remains of those slaughtered Konoha Anbu. A live proof of what could happen if Naruto ever lost control. Still, the things a sane and in control Naruto could do were simply amazing. It was this reason alone that their team had performed several assassination missions despite being young in age. Nagato, stop moving, hissed Naruto. The sudden command made the younger boy stop instantly. He grimaced when he saw two tall Hyuga standing guard outside the entrance. They were strangely wearing regular Jounin uniforms instead of Anbu clothes, and had their Byakugans active. They can see us, whispered Nagato in panic. Not if you stay still. The shadow mist I created around you can hide your form even from the Byakugan, but it won't stop those sharp Hyuga to spot the movements you make, like rustling of leaves, or the sound of footsteps we make on the grass, explained Naruto irritatedly. Nagato nodded obediently. He was a capable Chunin, but challenging a Hyuga's alertness was inviting too much trouble. Besides, Akino had repeatedly warned him over the years not to argue with Naruto. Especially when he was using his dark powers, it could lead to very dangerous situations. The fact that Naruto's left eye had turned completely red and was slit now was itself a large enough warning sign, and a visible proof of the effects the Kyuubi Chakra's corruption in Naruto's body. So how do we get past them? Without making movements or sound? Asked Nagato, hoping Naruto had some solution. He regretted asking it, when he saw Naruto smiling sinisterly. Watch. That was all Naruto said before extending his right hand forward. A cold, icy look appeared in his eyes as he pointed his finger toward the Hyuga standing on the right side. Daijuriojin, Dark Illusions. At first nothing happened. But 2 minutes later, the targeted Hyuga deactivated his Byakugan, much to the surprise of his comrade. Nagato saw Naruto grit his teeth and tightly clench his fist. Ken? Asked the other unaffected Hyuga. His fellow clansman was definitely not feeling well. I'm fine, Yamada replied Ken calmly, receiving a nod from his concerned partner. Relieved, Yamada turned back towards his spot only to feel something sharp piercing his throat. Barely reactivating his Byakugan, he was able to see the attack had come from none other than Ken, who remained stoic even as he plunged another kunai into his clansman's heart. Yamada collapsed. Ken quickly dragged his dead partner to the nearby bushes, created a shallow grave and tossed the body inside. He then performed a simple water jutsu, thereby wiping out the blood stains on the ground. Nagato saw beads of sweat roll off Naruto's forehead. That move was definitely taking a toll on his friend. The twisted Hyuga then came forward and knelt before an invisible figure. How many people are in the base? Whispered Naruto in a rough, tired voice. 25, my lord, replied the Hyuga blankly. I see. Where are the captured Uzumaki children? Asked Naruto. I don't know, replied the Hyuga, making Naruto frown disappointedly. What do you mean? Asked Naruto bitterly, as Nagato got a brief idea as to what could be happening here. Who is the commander of this base? Asked Nagato suddenly. The Hyuga stared blankly into nothingness but didn't give any answer. Nagato looked towards Naruto. Answer him, slave, commanded Naruto. Yes, master. This is not a base, but a private research laboratory of Konoha. Its current head is Orochimaru, confessed the Hyuga. Nagato, have you ever heard of a ninja with this name? Asked Naruto seriously. No. He must be a rising ninja. Which rank does this Orochimaru hold? Asked Nagato quickly. Jounin. Is he inside the base? Asked Naruto darkly. If this Orochimaru had even harmed a single hair of his clansmen, then his fate would be even worse. Not at the moment. But he will be here soon, said the Hyuga honestly. Very well. Go back to your post and act normal, commanded Naruto. The Hyuga nodded and went away quickly. Nagato instantly turned towards his friend, 100 questions floating in his eyes. But he summed all of them up in 7 words. How the fuck did you do that? Asked Nagato, only to receive a sharp look from his friend. Later. I can't control this Hyuga for long, let's infiltrate the base. You clear on what we have to do? Asked Naruto seriously. Yes. Noise discipline is necessary, agreed Nagato, as a grin came on his friend's face which actually made him look more scary than reassuring. Let's kick them in the balls. Naruto swiftly ran through the dark corridors of the base, with Nagato just a few steps behind him. Even he had to admit, whomever built this place had quite creepy tastes and was fond of puzzles. If not for his sensory powers, he doubted he would ever be able to get to his captured comrades without getting lost. And he had to finish his objectives in a limited time window, without getting caught. Pretty tall order for a Chunin present deep inside enemy lines. But he had to do it regardless of the odds. Leaving comrades behind was not his way of working, especially not innocent children. And he would rather face damnation to hell than let Akino rot in such a creepy place full of Konoha scum. He saw a young female dressed in a lab coat exit from one of the rooms, her expression cold and uncaring. Without hesitating, the Yuzu Chunin who was leaning from the ceiling hidden by dark shadows lurched down. Naruto's small, sharp tanto pierced through the woman's throat, thereby suppressing any scream she could have made. Nagato had already made his move, and before the woman or the erupting blood from her body could hit the ground, the younger Uzumaki sealed her body and the red liquid inside a scroll. The sealed scroll was now tightly placed back in a bag which Nagato was carrying on his back. The entire ordeal was over before it even began, with no trace left of the woman or how swiftly she was assassinated. Naruto turned towards his partner and communicated his intended message through practiced hand signals. My shadow cloaks will only last for an hour or less. The jutsu cast on the Hyuga not more than 45 minutes. We need to speed up, conveyed Naruto silently. Understood. Maybe you should have killed the last Hyuga guard, suggested Nagato, through his own hand signs. No guards protecting the base would have raised instant suspicion if some Konoha ninja or Orochimaru stumbled across. Had to play safe, suggested Naruto. Then let's make it count fast, replied Nagato. Agreed. As they moved through the base, they spotted various labs equipped with state-of-the-art machinery and several pods. It only made the two Yuzuchunin further worried about the fate of their people. Yet they had come too far to turn back now. Naruto quickly raised his hand when they came across a room. Nagato instantly took up position on the opposite side. Take out the mute charge, we finish them all in 10 seconds, instructed Naruto, his hand signs making his friend understand the plan. Nagato nodded. Taking out a special seal from his pouch, he strapped it on the metal door. Inside the room they could feel at least 20 human signatures, mostly civilian with few possessing chakra. The seal glowed for a second as Nagato gave a thumbs up to his teammate. The mute charge was one of the latest developments of the Uzumaki war machine. It was capable enough to prevent any sound waves to exit across 100 yards from where it was placed. Naruto gave a chakra-powered kick to the door. Nagato followed the move by tossing several smoke bombs inside simultaneously. Still concealed in their shadow cloaks, the boys stealthily entered the room and took up position by the only door that provided exit outside. As expected, the scientists, now surrounded by smoke, quickly ran towards the exit, where Naruto lay waiting for them with a sharp tanto. Slash. Nagato didn't hesitate for a slightest moment this time as Naruto started mercilessly killing every person that approached towards him. The older Uzumaki, still concealed in the shadows, started brutally murdering the people, his short tanto moving in a mesmerizing dance. Showers of blood and severed heads erupted. The people screamed, but nobody heard their terrified voices. It was as if sound itself had been sucked out into vacuum, and more horrifying was the fact that something invisible was slicing them up one by one. Nagato was slowly following behind Naruto, sealing up the dead bodies and blood stains across the floor and the walls, while also watching his friends back. Not that he needed to, because most of these people were simple scientists, and a few guards, all of whom met a gruesome end by Naruto's tanto, except for one which the boy was now holding by the throat. Somehow that sick scene made Nagato smile. There was nothing in the world which was more interesting than watching a man being held in the air by an invisible force. Where are the children and Akino? Asked Naruto darkly. Who are HHHH? The man screamed when Naruto jammed a sharp kunai straight through his balls. I asked the questions, you answer? Where are they? Asked Naruto bitterly. The bleeding scientist pointed a shaky finger towards a set of stairs inside the room that were descending below. Nagato had to restrain himself from ending this sick man. Are there any other escape routes apart from the main entrance? Don't lie or the next sharp weapon goes through your neck, warned Naruto. There's a secret exit inside the main lab below on the far right corner, whispered the scientist. Good, commended Naruto. Please let me go. I have kids, pleaded the middle-aged man. So are those children whom you are experimenting upon just expendable? Nagato, will you do the honors? Asked Naruto distastefully. Slash. With great speed, Nagato beheaded the man, and before his body or the blood could even hit the floor, all of it was sealed inside a scroll by Nagato. The entire room was now empty, with no signs of a small massacre ever happening. No bodies, no blood, no evidence. It was as if a ghost had stumbled across the base and made everything vanish. Without wasting any more time, the two boys quickly descended downwards through the series of long stairs. Nagato felt extremely relieved when Naruto dispelled the shadows that had been concealing their presence so far. That was after they had murdered the two guards and two scientists inside the room, following up by sealing the bodies in blood, thereby eliminating any trace of their existence. But the satisfied feeling had not lasted when they saw all the Uzumaki children sealed into water tanks that were full of some greenish liquid. Naruto was panting harshly. The sheer exhaustion he felt on using even a tiny fraction of his power was immense. Yet all he could feel right now was horror on seeing his clansmen in such conditions. He literally ran forward when he spotted Akino sealed on the fourth tank from the left. Naruto placed a trembling hand on the glass, worriedly observing the sleeping form of his teammate and best friend. "We need to get them out," said Nagato quickly, as he made his way towards a table where several notes were laid. When he didn't receive any response from his friend, he turned back and saw a grim-looking expression arriving on his friend's face. "What's the matter?" asked Nagato hesitantly. Naruto didn't reply at first, as he moved towards the stairs, only stopping at the first step and turning back towards Nagato. "Someone's coming. I am going to investigate. You get our people out quickly," instructed Naruto. "But," argued Nagato. "Not now, Nagato. Just do it, please," requested Naruto, his eyes still darting towards Akino's floating form. "All right. But I want you back here in 5, and do not engage anybody else. We have spilled enough blood for today," warned Nagato sternly, making Naruto smirk. "Yes, Grandma," said Naruto sarcastically. He had to duck down when Nagato sent a kunai his way. Laughing a little, Naruto quickly made his way upstairs and also picked up the kunai Nagato had thrown towards him, not wanting to leave any evidence at all. The smile he had previously shown to Nagato only to be replaced by a sudden worried expression. The sound of footsteps echoed through the empty halls. Naruto lay hanging from the ceiling of the floor, his body concealed by his shadows. His hawk-like eyes keenly fixed on the entrance of the corridor. He had definitely felt a powerful chakra signature approaching their location. And judging from the rapid manner in which it was closing down on their position, only left one possibility. They had been exposed. Naruto couldn't understand how that could happen, nor did he have time to think about the loophole. His thoughts were disrupted when a tall person emerged from the shadows. Before the person could even set foot on the trap Naruto had set, he stopped. A sinister chuckle escaped from the person's lips, as a pair of sinister-looking eyes opened up in the darkness of the corridor. "Kukuku, I know you're there." Orochimaru cautiously observed his surroundings for any sign of movement or hearing of sound. Despite being alone in the corridor, his senses were screaming that there was another hiding in the shadows. He could feel it, the foul, dark presence. A truly wicked aura was present everywhere, waiting to strike. He had even taunted the invisible enemy, hoping to get a response, but received none in return. So, they have brains as well. The way they infiltrated the base made my team and guards disappear. They must be Anbu or at least high Jonin level shinobi, deduced Orochimaru. He had little doubt regarding the identity of the enemy. Nobody except for his comrades were aware about the experimentation going on the captured Uzumaki children. The only people who could take offense to such a method and retaliate this brutally would be survivors of the same clan. Yet he had been informed that apart from the captured children, the rest of the Uzumaki clan was dead. Clearly, he had been kept in the dark. And now he had Anbu-class soldiers attacking his precious research. "You know you can't escape from here. I'll find you," promised Orochimaru. Again, no response. It seemed that normal threats were useless against this foe, so it was time to resort to other tricks. Orochimaru would have no hesitation in attacking this foe, and needed just a hint as to their exact location. And then he would strike in a flash. You know, for a clan praised to be as strong as the Uchiha and Senju, the Uzumaki turned out to be nothing but sheep, cowards who got slaughtered easily, taunted Orochimaru. Hiding in the shadows that were covering his body, Naruto kept his emotions in check? Easy to say, hard to practice. His power was a double-edged sword. The dark release gained power through the emotions and foul chakra inside him. The more darker his feelings, the more powerful he would become, but with that came the risk of losing control and exposing yourself wide in the open. Naruto had lost control many times in his life, and every time he had to wake up and see a river blood created by his own hands. While he didn't feel guilty since this power was not something he wanted but was forced on him, he didn't enjoy killing. Yet he did that dark act for the sake of his village and clan. One of whom was completely gone, and the other was barely left. Contrary to popular beliefs, he did feel emotions. Happiness, anger, sadness, fury, and worst of all, hatred. But unlike others, he didn't have the liberty to express them freely. It was not a choice but a necessity. His special power did grant him an unnatural advantage, but were also the cause for his miserable, isolated life. Despite that, he hadn't wasted much time of his life on cursing fate. That would be a terrible waste of time, and as a shinobi Naruto was not expected to live a long life. So why waste time on dwelling about something on which he had no control over? Yet the accusations of this man stung. For there was a hint of bitter truth in them. His clan had been too trusting, too absorbed within itself while ignoring the dangerous developments in the chaotic ninja world. And ultimately they paid a catastrophic price for it. Except for barely 50 children, the Uzumaki had been all but wiped out from the face of the earth. Never again, thought Naruto bitterly. You fools value peace so much and thought that non-alignment with any major powers would keep you safe. There can be no peace among humanity, much less the shinobi world. The weak can find a place to live in this world, but the same is not the case with fools, taunted Orochimaru again. Naruto's eyes momentarily widened as the realization hit him. This man, despite being an enemy, was only saying the bitter facts which Naruto had been trying to ignore till now. His dream of peace lay shattered upon the corpses of his deceased clan. It demoralized him greatly as he faced reality. What was he supposed to do now? A few weeks ago, he had a home, comrades, dreams of his own, and a bright future to look forward to. But now all of that was gone, and the only thing left was a wide hole in his chest that threatened to swallow him in an endless chasm of defeat and grief. He felt Nagato and Akino's chakra signatures vanishing from the base, along with those of the Uzumaki children. It would be so easy to give up now. Nagato and Akino would make sure the children survived. He had no family left who would truly miss him. His dreams of peace seemed impossible now on witnessing the traitorous world around him. No! An enraged voice from his subconscious yelled rebelliously with so much fury that it startled him. Why should he die? Were his dreams not worthy for this world? In a time when people did what they wanted, didn't he also have the right to fulfill his desire? Neither Iwa, Kumo, Kiri, Konoha, or as a matter of fact any hidden village had a shred of compassion or sympathy for each other. The world was a jungle. The strong survive, the weak die. The Uzumaki had been weak and naive, so they were devoured. I will make my dream a reality, no matter the cost. This I pledge as Naruto Uzumaki, thought Naruto passionately. Orochimaru was actually surprised when a mass of shadows started swirling in front of him. Inside he saw a teenage boy with one red eye staring at him, his face covered by a mask, but nobody could miss his dark red hair. What shocked the Konoha Jonin was the look in the boy's eyes. The gaze of a predator. Thank you for teaching me something fundamental, said Naruto sincerely. And what is that? Asked Orochimaru curiously. The boy smirked deviously. That the absolute truth is useless in this world. The only thing that truly matters is the power to freely accomplish one's dreams, said Naruto calmly. What's your name, boy? Asked Orochimaru seriously. The redhead simply gave a mysterious smile, while raising two of his fingers. Orochimaru instantly prepared for battle. Boom! Multiple explosions started happening across the entire base, and Orochimaru didn't need more than a second to understand what was going on. He instantly looked towards the boy who had almost disappeared back into the shadows. You'll find out soon enough. With that promise, the boy vanished back into darkness. Orochimaru would have loved to find the brat and teach him a few lessons, but the entire base was crumbling and he would rather prefer not to be crushed by rocks first. So, the enemy had not entered his territory without a backup plan to fall back to, if things went south. Whoever that boy was, he was dangerous and knew some very disturbing dark facts about him and Konoha. But dealing with this situation would have to wait, because he had to first save his own life. We shall meet again, Uzumaki promised Orochimaru, and started running madly. Nagato had been staring at the sleeping forms of Akino and the Uzumaki children. The moon shined its sliver light across the earth, while the last remnants of the Uzumaki clan lay protected under a strong barrier. Their escape from the base had not been easy, but Naruto had bought them enough time. He hated his friend for that. To be able to maintain such level-headed thinking even in the worst situations was a trait only a few shinobi had. Yet it also pointed out the fact that Naruto had no value for his own life. In his eyes he was a simple ninja who was expendable for the greater good. His friend had believed this from the beginning and had lived by it every single day of their lives. Even during the most suicidal missions their team had faced, Naruto had led the charge, took severe injuries but accomplished the mission no matter the cost. Nagato disliked this attitude of his friend, but he understood the reason behind it. Unlike Akino and him, Naruto had went through events that had a deep impact on his life right from the early stages. Lack of parents and family, weariness from his own villagers, and most of all his uncontrollable powers. To overcome these scars, Naruto had devoted himself to the village and preservation of the Uzumaki clan. That was the reason for his existence, along with a small personal goal for peace across the elemental nations. A dream which Nagato shared, but one that had been ruthlessly shattered by the drastic chain of events in their lives. The rustling of leaves alerted Nagato instantly, and he turned around only to find Naruto calmly walking towards him. A smile came on the younger boy's face as he rushed towards his masked friend. "I thought you died," said Nagato worriedly, as he looked for any wounds on his friend's body. Fortunately, there were only a few scratches. Naruto smiled. "There is only one Naruto Uzumaki, and there will only be one man whose name may be remembered for killing me. I wonder who'll be that person," joked Naruto, earning a glare from Nagato. "I am in no mood for your theatrics this time," Naruto warned Nagato, as his friend raised a placating hand in return. Fine. How are the others?" asked Naruto patiently. Nagato pursed his lips. "I am no medic, but even I can see they are weak. While no external injuries are visible, I can't be sure about any internal injuries. Though I've yet to sense any of them, so I have some hope. Your decision to immediately go after our comrades probably saved their lives," explained Nagato frankly. "I did what was necessary." With that simple answer, Naruto started walking towards Akino's sleeping form. Nagato sighed. "Naruto, it isn't a crime to be proud of accomplishing a nearly impossible feat," advised Nagato, and saw his friend's fist clenching tightly. "If I had been better, so many of our people wouldn't have died. So I shouldn't," whispered Naruto, his eyes low and voice full of guilt. "Naruto. I still desire peace in this world, Nagato." "But," said Naruto hesitantly, "how can you say that after everything that has happened to our village? Our clan? Our comrades?" yelled Nagato furiously. Naruto turned around and sympathetically stared at his friend. Unknown to Nagato, Uzumaki Naruto could clearly feel each and every feeling burning in his friend's heart. Right from the hatred to the grief. "Then what do you propose?" asked Naruto calmly, and saw Nagato giving him an ice-cold gaze. "The only way to achieve peace in this world is by making humanity feel pain. Unless those in power don't know this feeling, wars will keep on happening," proclaimed Naruto. "What if I say there's another way?" hinted Naruto, with that mesmerizing glint in his eyes. Nagato paused. The anger faded a little, as he furrowed his brows. Naruto usually proposed the most rational plans, keeping the real objectives in mind. It wouldn't cost him anything to listen to the idea. "Fine," relented Nagato. Naruto smiled. Making sure that the silencing seals were working properly, he explained his dream to his friend. And the way he would move forward towards it. "I thought," said Nagato sheepishly, how stupid he had been. Naruto scoffed. "You don't think I'll simply spare the ones that destroyed our clan?" asked Naruto irritatedly. "So," said Nagato hopefully, but Naruto raised his hand. "But you're out of your mind if you think I'll destroy 4 great ninja villages and nearly 60% of the world's population in a mad quest," mocked Naruto, and was surprised when Nagato looked away. "Well," Naruto sighed. "Nagato, you have a good heart. But try to think with your brain first and heart later. It'll keep you alive and help you in accomplishing your goals," suggested Naruto. "Tch," muttered Nagato. His friend suppressed a chuckle. Despite entering his teens, Naruto knew Nagato was a child in many ways. "I swear to you, Nagato. I'll make the culprits of our people pay with their lives, but I won't destroy the world in an act of revenge. Destroying is easy, developing is hard," advised Naruto sagely. "You and your quotes. What were you, a historian in your previous life?" teased Nagato. "Hey, it doesn't sound like a bad idea," agreed Naruto, making Nagato truly smile. "Naruto, can we truly have real peace someday?" asked Nagato seriously, and looked his friend straight in the eye. To his credit, Naruto never wavered. He stepped forward toward the younger boy, his steely gaze connecting with Nagato's doubtful gaze. "I'll never give up." Nagato's eyes widened. Smiling, Naruto extended his hand towards his friend. "Instead of using our powers for destruction, let's use them to change this world into something better. Promise me?" asked Naruto hopefully. Nagato stared at this boy, his right hand automatically rising to meet with the one Naruto had extended towards him. He didn't know what this feeling was that always made him believe in this boy, but it was enough to keep alive the tiny flicker of light in Nagato's heart. Maybe you can save this world. I shall believe in you, Naruto promised Nagato secretly. Outwardly, the younger Uzumaki only gave a nod to his friend. The atmosphere inside the conference room was extremely tense. The people sitting in their comfortable chairs were leaders and considered the best among the masses of Fire Nation. Yet all of them had varied expressions ranging from shock, anger, trepidation, fear and grief. Hiruzen sat in the center, a weary expression visible on his face as he regretfully grasped his forehead. Is this really true? Asked Hiruzen sadly. Positive. The Uzumaki have been completely wiped out, their village destroyed and all inhabitants killed, declared Danzo Shimura. Minato Namike stood beside the tired third Hokage along with Jiraiya. The white-haired student of Hiruzen was glancing at the blonde Jounin whose face was a perfect mask of calm and control, yet the clenched fists were enough to show Jiraiya what he needed to see. The Uzukage and all fighters offered a valiant fight to the combined armies of Iwa, Kumo, and Kiri. So fierce was the battle that the outnumbered Uzumaki successfully wiped out nearly 30% of the enemy forces before being destroyed, said Danzo respectfully. He may not have been a true fan of that clan, but he respected power. And even in their demise the Uzumaki had provided their worth to Konoha. Shocked gasps were heard across the room as the clan heads and top Jounin and Umbu heard the news. It was a rare feat for any single clan to inflict so much damage against the combined power of 3 great ninja villages. It only highlighted the power of the Uzumaki, a distant relative of the Senju clan. Speaking of which, Tsunade Senju closed her eyes in grief. She may not have shared close bonds with her distant relatives, but they were still family. Were there any survivors, Danzo-sama? Maybe a few could have escaped while the fighters bought them time, said Minato hopefully. You're right. A few did manage to run towards our borders, but were eventually hunted down and killed. It not only highlights our utter failure in protecting our allies but also points out how vulnerable our own borders are. And the threat that looms over our great village, proclaimed Danzo. My son. Many of the clan heads gasped in shock on hearing Kushina's trembling voice. As far as they were told, the redhead's first child had died on birth. Apparently, that had not been the case. Their eyes shifted towards Hiruzen, who sighed. Danzo gave him a stern yet prodding look. The child was a boy. Konoha had always followed a secret treaty with Yuzu known only to the respective kages of each village. In exchange for resources and support, Yuzu would continue to provide a shinobi who can be the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki along with new weapons. However, if the female Uzumaki were to ever conceive a male child, then he was to be immediately handed back to Yuzu, informed Hiruzen. A logical way of thinking. A male Uzumaki growing up in Konoha could have easily recreated the clan over the decades, suggested Shibi Aburame. And render Yuzu's importance to us quite bleak, pointed Hayashi Hyuga. If a girl was born to the Uzumaki of Konoha, then too our village would gain a partial Uzumaki clan. However, the descendants of such a child would not be as strong as a true Uzumaki because of the strong genes that can only be passed down through a male. Tsunade is a descendant of Minto, yet her healing powers and longevity pale in comparison to her grandmother. Not to mention the sealing arts that were the true power of that clan, explained Shikaku Nara tactfully. And you allowed this to happen, Hiruzen? Asked Danzo bitterly, receiving a sharp glare from the third Hokage. That's Hokage-sama to you, Danzo. Don't forget your place, reminded Hiruzen. His tone was calm yet the message was clear. Hi, replied Danzo crisply, though a battle of eyes was continuously fought between the two students of Tobarama Senju. It was an honorable treaty which both Hashirama-sama and Tobarama-sama respected. I followed the same principles laid by our great founders, replied Hiruzen calmly. Despite the benefits the Uzumaki could have brought to our village? Asked Danzo contritely. Before the small conflict could escalate further, Minato stepped forward. His ice-cold gaze glaring down at Danzo. Danzo-sama, while I understand your views to some extent, you don't have any right to question the Hokage. And nor do you have any right to speak of my son as a mere tool. I won't allow that, warned Minato. Many stared at the blonde Jounin in shock. There were barely a handful of people in the village who could stand up to Danzo Shimura, much less obstruct the man from speaking his thoughts. It would have been the case with any other shinobi, but Minato was one of the rising stars of Konoha and was said to be the Nidame's successor. So when he spoke, people listened. Danzo subtly saw the clan heads, Jiraiya, Tsunade and many others secretly agreeing with the blonde Jounin. I see. It was inappropriate of me and I apologize, said Danzo curtly. Hiruzen instantly narrowed his eyes on seeing the sudden change in his friend's behavior. This was not good, Danzo rarely apologized to anyone, and when he did, there would always be some agenda behind it. The Hokage saw the same cautious look in Minato's eyes, and was impressed with him further. The 30-year-old was young but had an intellect that was as sharp as Danzo's. But it still presents the point that Konoha can no longer stay neutral. War is inevitable, declared Danzo. Murmuring quickly erupted into the chamber, and Hiruzen raised his hand, preventing a discussing from starting outright. Danzo, we should try to avoid war. The last one had costed us so much, we even lost Tobirama-sama, pointed Hiruzen, and saw the same cold determination in his friend's eye. Don't be naive, Hokage-sama. Do you think Iwa, Kiri and Kyumo will simply stop after destroying Yuzu? No, they'll unite and attack us. And when that happens, Konoha's destruction will be imminent, warned Danzo. This is all just speculation. Do you have any idea what you are proposing? Asked Jiraiya irritatedly. As a matter of fact, I do. If we do not retaliate, it will send a message across the entire world that Konoha easily betrays its allies. More than that, we owe it to Yuzu to inflict justice upon the criminals who slaughtered an entire clan mercilessly, said Danzo passionately. Everyone's gaze shifted towards Kushina, who had barely said anything during the entire meeting. Maybe it was the shock of hearing about her son's demise or the grief that came after, it had frozen her. The redhead had a haunted look in her eyes, a few tears already fallen off her cheeks. Minato grimaced. Even after all these years. Danzo inwardly smiled when most of the people in the room got determined looks in their eyes on seeing the grieving mother. Satisfied, he looked towards Hiruzen, who gave him an extremely disappointed, hateful look. Let there be war. Kushina kept on running. Away from the council chambers, away from the people, away from everything. Everything had turned dark in her life. Tears freely trickled down her cheeks as she hopped from rooftop to rooftop across Konoha. Her home was gone, her clan destroyed. And her son. She could still remember that tiny little bundle she had been forced to give to the Uzukage. She could still remember how heartbreaking the choice had been, but she had made it for her son. So that he would not have to suffer her fate. So that Konoha would simply not use him as a breeder, or a Jinchuriki successor, or worse, as a weapon. Kushina, wait! She had ignored that voice for the past few minutes, even as the person continued to chase after her. Yet, she was forced to stop when Minato appeared in front of her, blocking her way. Unlike her, he didn't have tears. But she had known him for years, and just one glance in his eyes was enough to show her that he shared her feelings. But was better at controlling them. I have nothing to say to you, Minato said, Kushina stiffly. Kushina, I said, Minato hesitantly. What could he possibly say to her when he himself? Don't worry. I'll fight for this village, even if they failed in saving my family, said Kushina coldly, receiving a glare from the blonde. You know I have never doubted your loyalty, replied Minato sharply, and saw her smile at him cynically. Just go away, Minato. This is the moment for you and this village to shine, your chance to prove your worth to your beloved village. It's just unfortunate that it costed the life of my son. And with those cold words, Kushina vanished. Minato remained frozen in his spot. Only if he had known that a single mistake could cost a man so much, only if he hadn't done what he did, then things could have been different. Only if. He was my son too, Kushina. 3 days later. Akino groggily opened her eyes. For a moment panic arose in her heart when she spotted only darkness. But relief soon came when she felt a strong pair of arms wrap her in a warm hug. It relaxed her and brought a few tears in her eyes as she heard his voice. You're safe. It's over. She looked up to see Naruto smiling down at her. The girl's cheeks flushed a little red on seeing how close he was to her, their lips barely a few inches apart from each other. Yet she knew she was safe. As long as she had known Naruto, he had never displayed a hint of romantic feelings for any woman. Sometimes it did make her doubt his sexuality. The boy had shared more bromance moments with Nagato than he had with her. Yet this was refreshing. You done, perv? Asked Naruto bemusedly. Shut up, replied Akino, a smile arriving on her lips. Her eyes then settled on him as he simply stared back at her. In a move which surprised Naruto, she leaned forward and tried to kiss his lips. At the last second, he moved away, making her kiss his cheek instead. Before she could feel embarrassed, Naruto cupped her chin and looked her straight in the eye. You deserve someone better, said Naruto hesitantly, as she looked at him sharply. Let me be the judge of that, replied Akino, some anger seeping into her tone. Naruto slowly got back on his feet and walked a few meters away to stand at the entrance of the cave they were currently taking shelter in. The third great ninja war has started. His words shocked Akino to the core. Her eyes widened as she tried to imagine the consequences of this catastrophe. Konoha has entered into the war to seek revenge for Yuzu. It's rather ironic, but with their arrival Suna would follow. The flames of war would engulf all lands and an era of darkness approaches us all, said Naruto calmly. And whose side are you on? Asked Akino hesitantly, making him smile a little. My own. I am going to fuel this war. Every ninja village is my enemy. My goal is to make each and every one of them suffer terrible losses, because unless their military and economic powers are reduced to rubble, they'll continue to possess the desire and capability to wage wars, explained Naruto frankly. This wasn't what the Uzukage wanted, hinted Akino, and flinched on receiving his sharp glare. He's dead. And I don't have time to linger and regret or ponder what he would have done in this situation. It's up to me now. The sad thing is that unless I wage war, I can't have peace in this world. Akino, I can't give you what you want. Because I don't have the capacity to love, my existence itself was a mistake, said Naruto sadly. Akino lowered her gaze. His words, while harsh, only presented the bitter truth. Bursts must be controlled by an existence who's either extremely incompetent or extremely sarcastic, said Naruto dryly. Akino saw Naruto's gaze fixed on the Yuzu headband that he was holding in his right palm. Already, I have nothing left to lose, muttered Naruto. He turned around and this time Akino saw raw determination burning in his eyes. A fire that she had never seen before. But even so, I will fight, promised Naruto. The young boy's gaze shifted towards the sky, as the face of his deceased Uzukage smiled down at him from the heavens. To keep my promise to you, and to gain something to quench this thirst in my heart. Is that a good friend or a strong enemy? Ninja World, will you fill that role? Akino and Nagato stood beside their best friend and the de facto leader of their small clan. They patiently waited while Naruto keenly studied the map placed in front of him. The dim fire that they had created in the dark cave being the only source of light. The curious young children lay peacefully in another area, happily chatting with each other, trusting their last three guardians with their lives. It had been 3 weeks since the start of the Third Great Ninja War. Akino and the captured children had slowly recovered back to full health, while Naruto and Nagato had conducted small raids across nearby villages and gathered necessary resources to sustain the survival of their family. The stolen goods and resources had been deliberately kept low in amount in order to avoid getting under Konoha's radar. Naruto had explained that these minor raids would not only help them in their survival, while also increasing the paranoia of the people of Fire Nation. Nobody ever suspected that the survivors of an extinct clan were the ones doing these mischiefs. Instead, the blame was being firmly laid on Kumo, or in some cases IWA. The two Chunin had to admit, Naruto had a devious mind when it came to war. It was as if the boy was born to destroy. And judging from the cynical / borderline evil grin visible on Naruto's lips made them a little nervous. Leave it to the Nara to do something like this, commented Naruto. What do you mean? Asked Akino, a frown visible on the silver-haired girl's face. Konoha is taking its time to step into this war. Rather than directly attack IWA, Kiri and Kumo, they are organizing their armies. No matter how strong they are, they cannot possibly hope to take on 3 major villages all alone. If my guess is correct, they must have already sent a delegation to Suna, explained Naruto. But what would Suna gain from allying with Konoha? They are at best cordial to each other, suggested Nagato, but his friend simply smiled. No major village can avoid this war. Suna is right beside IWA, and is the weakest among the big 5. That Tsuchikage alone could wipe out more than half of Suna shinobi on his own. While Suna has a strong ninja in the form of the Sandaime Kazekage, he is just one man. Fear and anxiety are common in war, and the Kazekage would rather ally himself with a pacifist and stable Hiruzen Sarutobi rather than face this world war alone, explained Naruto with a smile. That does make sense, said Akino in a surprised voice. We can't allow that to happen. Neither can we afford Suna to stay neutral. If even one of the major villages remained strong after this war, then our entire cause would have failed, warned Nagato, getting a nod from his friends. Correct, Nagato. That is precisely why we will destroy this budding alliance, declared Naruto, a cold look visible in his eyes. How? Asked his friends in unison, making Naruto raise 3 fingers. He spent the next few minutes explaining the mission to his friends, and by the time he was finished both of them were staring at him with a mix of awe and shock. Is there a problem? asked Naruto quietly. No, it's just, said Akino hesitantly, and flinched when Naruto's gaze bore down on her. We are an assassination squad. The three of us are the closest Ambu's ever had. Most of all, have you forgotten how every one of these villages played a part in destroying our village and our clan? Asked Naruto harshly. He's right. There is no room for sympathy. We must remain focused on the real objective, which is peace, insisted Nagato fiercely. Akino nodded. Nagato, I want you to stay here and protect these children. I can't afford another mistake, and I know you can do it, said Naruto seriously. Akino smirked. The way Naruto had worded his will had left very little room for Nagato to protest. Yet the boy did that regardless. Don't tell me you plan to do this solo? Asked Nagato incredulously. Naruto shook his head. Akino will be my partner for this operation. And it's just like you said, the only thing that matters is our mission, or have you changed your mind? Asked Naruto. Nagato flinched. We will be back within a week. Don't conduct any raids until then, stay here and protect our people. And most of all, start teaching them the basics of ninja arts, instructed Naruto. You want me to babysit and teach? Are you insane? Asked Nagato worriedly. Akino chuckled. Maybe. But you are the only one among the three of us who has the patience and talent to teach others. Start training the ones who are fit to be a ninja. For those who don't have the talent, focus on teaching them the ways to make scrolls, stocking weapons, tailoring, and medical ninjutsu. We may not have the numbers, but I won't allow these children to be weak again. When the next time they face the enemy, I want them to fight like true Uzumaki instead of crying out in fear and despair, explained Naruto harshly. They are so young, said Nagato hesitantly, as he glanced at the 10-year-old boys and girls. Akino saw a brief flash of regret, sadness, and guilt pass through Naruto's eyes. He hid it well enough to prevent Nagato from noticing, but she could see that he was hurting from the inside. Just like the rest of them. Only the victors are allowed to live. This world is merciless like that, said Naruto, a haunted look visible in his eyes. Naruto. The boy closed his eyes and turned away. The next time he spoke, his voice had the same iciness and determination present in them. Akino, prepare for the mission. We move in half an hour, and Nagato, in case we don't make it back, then I've left instructions for you in this scroll. Don't open it until absolutely necessary, warned Naruto, and tossed the scroll to his friend. What is in it? Asked Nagato curiously, as he observed the small black-colored object. Something which I was supposed to use if I ever got in trouble. A safety measure given by my father. Akino and Nagato went wide-eyed on hearing that. Their shocked stares were fixed on Naruto's back. All their lives their friend had pretended not knowing his father. Wordlessly, Naruto walked away after relaying that information. Clearly not willing to share any more information, and his friends reluctantly didn't pursue him on this revelation. What a fucked up family, said Nagato, with a heavy sigh. Just pray that they never meet face to face, replied Akino wearily. Why? Asked Nagato, and saw a terrified expression arriving in the silver-haired girl's eyes. It might just start another world war. Akino was currently lying idly beneath the shade of a large tree. The cool breeze hit her face, occasionally making her smile, while her eyes were fixed on the masked boy who was busy going through their mission gear. She had to admit, he had been planning this operation for quite some time. Why me? Her sudden question made him stop momentarily. He glanced at her for a second. Their gazes met, and he understood what was the true meaning behind those words. Apart from the fact that your skills are more suitable than Nagato in this task, I want you as my partner to keep me in control, admitted Naruto, his gaze lowering a little. And why is that? Asked Akino coolly. Because you have a heart, I don't. I always tend to focus towards our ultimate goal and tend to disregard the way we achieve it. I might even not hesitate to kill innocents for this task, especially when I use my dark powers. This risk greatly increases as I don't have full control. Nagato carries a lot of hatred in his heart, and might not be determined and capable enough of stopping me. But you can, don't let me become a monster, Akino requested Naruto. She got back on her feet and came beside him. Placing a hand on his shoulder, she gave him a proud smile. The fact that you know this is enough proof that you will not become the monster you fear. And neither will I let you become one, promised Akino. He smiled. Thanks. Akino couldn't help but notice the fact that he had a nice smile. He may have rejected her feelings, but she could barely accept such a decision of a person who hardly even understood his own pain. So, she would wait. Instead of pushing him further, she would support him as a loyal friend and comrade. And maybe a few years later, when all of this madness was over and their dream of peace was a reality then. Maybe. It was a slim chance. But a girl could hope. Naruto saw the silence was stretching for far too long and instantly pointed his finger towards the gear he had placed near their feet. Akino was thankful for the diversion and shifted her attention towards the Konoha Umbu uniform that lay across her feet. "Where did you get this?" asked Akino in surprise. "Black markets can offer you a lot of interesting things for a right price. And these are war times, getting things like these is much easier now," clarified Naruto. "Clever. You know if this plan works, then each village will fight against the other. What are your future plans?" asked Akino curiously. "One step at a time," Akino stated Naruto frankly. She smirked. "You are a dangerous general." Naruto smiled. "That I am." Nagi Hyuga was keenly observing the dense forest around him. For the past half an hour, he and his partner Kenji Yamanaka had been patrolling the borders of Fire Country. With a world war going on across the lands, their task had become highly important. So far things were normal, and he had not come across any enemy forces trying to enter their borders. That was a good sign. His Byakugan was watching each and every sector, and he was rudely shocked when an Umbu appeared right behind him. He yanked backwards to defend only to see that it was one of Konoha's special forces soldier. And he had a scroll in his hand. "How did I not see him?" thought Nagi worriedly. "Hey, you Umbus are always so sneaky. But I admit, getting a jump on a Hyuga is damn impressive," congratulated Kenji. Nagi focused his Byakugan on the young teenage Umbu. While Konoha didn't officially accept such young children into such a dark unit, that was not the case with the secret force that he had heard rumors about. Root. Information was scarcely available on this unit, but what Nagi did know that many young teens were a part of that group. The only reassurance he had was that they were on Konoha's side. He was so engrossed in his thoughts that he reacted a second late when the Umbu raised his finger and Kenji went still. Nagi pressed a fast strike straight towards this enemy's heart, only to freeze the next moment. Dark chakra started surrounding the young Umbu, and Nagi trembled in fear on seeing one of the eyes of the boy turning demonic red in color. Dajuryojin, dark illusions. The fear and anxiety within Nagi's heart skyrocketed to maddening levels as he saw several Suna shinobi approaching towards Fire Nation. Combine that with Hiruzen Sarutobi's desperate voice to retaliate, brutally screaming in his head, made him angry and determined. Naruto exerted more of his will, driving the genjutsu trapped Hyuga in his own nightmare/dream world. His Meiton allowed him the ability to sense people's emotions, and allowed him to manipulate them to a certain extent. More specifically, fear, anger, hatred, sorrow, anxiety were his weapons. Instead of invading any physical parts of a person's body, he attacked at the most vulnerable one. Psychological. Although there was a drawback to this technique. Since he could feel and manipulate those dark emotions of his enemy, he himself was experiencing them, and it took everything in his power not to kill them right away. Just as Nagi was thinking about different ways to kill Suna Ninja, while the Yamanaka was trapped in his own nightmare. Most of all, it took a lot of chakra. After a few more minutes of inner torture, the ninjas broke and knelt before Naruto. Trapped in their own nightmares, the two were nothing but puppets waiting to be used by a puppeteer. And Naruto intended to do that. "Hyuga, regroup with the rest of your squad. Attack the closest Suna outpost and destroy our enemies," commanded Naruto fiercely. "Yes, I will stop them from attacking our great nation," pledged Nagi. The Hyuga quickly ran away to complete his new orders. The effects of that genjutsu would barely last for 4 hours, but being this close to the border, Naruto knew the damage would have already been done. Naruto turned towards the Yamanaka, who stared back at him blankly. The Uzumaki was thankful that these ninja had been mere chunin. His techniques, while effective, lacked the power to overwhelm powerful jounin and umbus. But with time and training, Naruto intended to perfect this art. He was an assassin, after all. "Relay this message back to all border patrols," instructed Naruto. The Yamanaka nodded. "All units code Omega under attack by Suna, heavy losses HH." Naruto silenced the terrified Yamanaka by slicing his throat. The man gurgled, and the Uzumaki was sure that this sound would also be heard by the nearby Konoha forces. The message had been sent. Stage 1 complete. Time to move to Stage 2, thought Naruto seriously. Placing a finger on the communication device hidden inside his ear, he connected with his partner who was conducting a different exercise in a nearby area. Akino, report. A moment's silence followed before a feminine voice replied over the communication device in a calm tone. Objectives accomplished. I've eliminated few Chunin, genjutsu the few and sent them on a suicide charge towards Suna posts. What about you? Asked Akino quickly. Done. Stage 1 is complete. Konoha itself will handle Stage 2 of our plan. Rendezvous with me and we'll finish the last part, ordered Naruto. You know, you might have scared an entire nation with this move, replied Akino. Naruto smiled cynically. Let's see how a cornered animal reacts. Utter chaos and mayhem prevailed in the regional command headquarters. Communication specialists were reporting incursion after incursion. The tactical board was being bombarded by continuous shifting of enemy movements. The Konoha forces near the Wind Country's border being engaged or retaliating. Taji Uchiha grit his teeth in frustration and anger. Give me a full report, now! Barked the veteran Uchiha, his dark-colored eyes intimidating his subordinates. Sir, Squads 67 and 68 are eliminated. Squads 44, 48, 50 are retaliating. We are still trying to get into contact with others, replied his second-in-command, a female Yamanaka. Taji slammed his hand on the table in frustration. There can be only two possible scenarios. Either a large-scale invasion force is striking at multiple locations, or Suna Umbu are striking at lightning-fast speed in order to pave a way for the main invasion force, deduced Taji worriedly. What do we do, Taji-sama? Asked one of his subordinates. The gray-haired Uchiha remained silent for a few minutes, his calculative mind going through various decisions he could make. In the end, he went with the most tactfully suitable plan. Tell our squads to fall back and regroup. It's better to consolidate our assets and wait for reinforcements. If this is an invasion staged by Suna, then I highly doubt individual squads would be able to offer much resistance against a larger enemy force. Contact High Command in Konoha, inform them about the situation immediately, instructed Taji. His subordinates quickly nodded and went to carry out his orders. The Hokage is not going to like this, thought Taji hesitantly. Taji-sama. The old Uchiha was brought of his thoughts by the alarmed response of his second-in-command. Walking towards the blonde female Yamanaka, he looked her right in the eye. What is it, Miki? Asked Taji, and saw a petrified look visible in her eyes. Our communications have been sabotaged, replied Miki hesitantly, and flinched when a murderous look arrived in the Uchiha's eyes. How the hell we'll remedy it later? Use your mind powers to reach Konoha, barked Taji furiously. That is too far from my range. Only Inoichi-sama can communicate such long-range messages, replied Miki worriedly, making her superior even more mad. Damn it. What good are you? Gah. Forget it, contact our regional headquarters. Find out if they are in the same mess as we are, ordered Taji. Hi. As soon as the young girl went away, Taji took a deep breath to rein in his emotions. It wouldn't be good if he lost his cool in such a desperate situation. They had already been on edge ever since their village decided to participate in this world war. This sudden invasion had already sent almost all of his soldiers and even him into a panic. Taji summed all their feelings in 3 simple words. What a mess. Akino watched with a bated breath as her eyes witnessed a fire of panic, fear, anger, and desperation start infecting an entire nation. She had done everything she was ordered to do, right from killing a few Chunin squads and sabotaging regional communication in the entire area. It had not been easy, but for a former assassin it was possible. Beside her, Naruto stood peacefully on the branch of the tall tree. His calm, cold, calculative eyes watching in deep satisfaction as his own plot started producing results. What is his ultimate goal? To destroy the 5 great nations? Recreate Yuzu? Create an empire? Get justice for the Uzumaki? Achieve peace through war? These were all the tip of the infinite questions that plagued Akino's mind. She would follow and support Naruto regardless of his choices and decisions, yet she just couldn't understand this shinobi. It was no secret to her that Naruto was strong, but his real power had always been his calculative mind and cunning. You see, Akino, bringing change is not that difficult in this world, you just gotta have the will to bring the change, said Naruto, his tone cynical. The ninja world will not crumble so easily to your whims, warned Akino. He smirked as his eyes observed the world before him. Something that's supposed to die and doesn't will eventually rot away, whether it's a man or a nation. Akino remained frozen in her spot as Naruto turned around. A silence followed between them, and after a few seconds she spoke. Is it over? Naruto closed his eyes and smiled. I'm just getting started. A pair of dark eyes had been observing the red-head Uzumaki. Ever since the fall of Yuzu, he had followed the boy at every moment. At first it was the desire to hunt his prey, but Konoha Shinobi soon enough took care of that. Curiosity got the best of him, and he continued his pursuit, witnessing the changes in the Uzumaki boy. Instead of cursing their dark world like a brat, the boy called Naruto had wholeheartedly adapted to the change. Naruto may be young and not much powerful today, but the man could see that the Uzumaki boy had a mind that could rival even the most veteran shinobi. The boy's ideology had finally matched with the man who was currently observing him, and witnessing the mayhem spreading across Fire Nation made him grin in satisfaction. He truly is chaos incarnate, thought the man curiously. On hearing Naruto's last declaration, and watching the boy go away along with his lackey made the man speak for the first time. Humans are so interesting. Minato Namikaze numbly sat on one of the large trees situated inside the Forest of Death. Secluded from the rest of the world, the blonde Jounin's eyes were fixed on the picture of a young masked boy. There was a small cross beneath that picture in the bingo book, a sign that Konoha had recently updated. The Shadow. He always liked that nickname his son had earned for himself over the years. Even though Naruto was listed as a mere chunin in the bingo book, there was a caution at the bottom regarding the boy's ability to surprise and turn tables. He had always been proud of this trait which his son had inherited from him. Despite all evidence pointing towards the demise of Naruto, the father knew that was no the case. Some might say that it was Minato's delusion as a way of coping with grief. And he would have believed that too, if not for the last conversation he had with the boy. Over the years since their separation, Minato had tried to stay in touch with his son through letters since he was not allowed to visit Yuzu. There was only one reply from Naruto over the years, the letter Minato was holding in his other hand which had a few words written on it. Words that haunted the Namikaze every day. Even when I was in a crowd, I was always alone. Those words were sharper than any blade, more painful than any wound. He could only imagine the type of life his son had lived that made him utter such heartbreaking words. And yet the eyes that stared at him from the photograph of the bingo book screamed of ambition. A large one at that. He still remembered that single one-on-one conversation he had with his boy. Flashback, a few months ago. Minato patiently observed the surprise visible on his young son's face. Standing in one of the marshes surrounding Yuzu, the guard Chunin was extremely stunned to see a Konoha Jounin entering their territory in such a sneaky manner. Much less his own father. With speed unforeseen, Minato had easily knocked out the two Chunin border patrol guards who were with Naruto and now stood before the boy. "What are you doing here, Jounin?" asked Naruto icily, his tanto pointed towards the blonde ninja. Minato grimaced. Those cold words hurt a lot, but deep down he knew he deserved them. So, instead he decided to remain patient. "Do you know who I am?" asked Minato, a hopeful expression visible in his eyes. "My biological creator had said that you were the donor that helped facilitate my existence." "Nothing more, nothing less," replied Naruto, making his father flinch considerably. The way Naruto had said those words had left very little to imagination as to what the boy felt in his heart. Despite expecting such a response while coming here, it still hurt Minato to hear them regardless. "I suppose I earned that remark," said Minato apologetically, and gave a sad smile to his red-haired son. Naruto's startling blue-colored eyes shined with hostility, yet he did the unthinkable when he lowered his tanto and sighed. "I give you this one chance to walk away, if only for the unfortunate fact that I exist because of you," said Naruto calmly, making Minato raise one of his eyebrows. "You think you can defeat me?" asked the father curiously, and was surprised to see the boy shake his head. "It would be foolish to assume so. However, that doesn't mean that I won't offer a valiant fight. I am a ninja of Yuzu and you are illegally setting foot in my nation. It is my duty to stop you, no matter what relation we unfortunately share," explained Naruto logically, his voice bitter. Minato smiled. "It seems you are wise than most people your age. Rest assured, I am not here to harm your nation. I came here to see you," said Minato honestly, making the boy frown. "There was no need for such a farce," replied Naruto flatly. Minato lowered his head in guilt. "You're my son," Naruto said Minato softly, and saw the boy's fists clench tightly as he fought hard to control his emotions. Yet Minato sensed the temperature going cold and killing intent started spreading. "Just don't. It has taken me years to understand and accept the reality of my life. I don't hold you guilty for what you did. Just like I am a ninja of my village, you are a ninja of your village. Soldiers are meant to serve nation first, then society, then their comrades, and if it is possible then themselves in the end, stated Naruto with conviction. Minato could not help but stare at his son with pride in his eyes. You've become an admirable ninja, Naruto praised Minato. Despite the bitter feelings, those words made the boy pause. For a few moments a strange look arrived in Naruto's eyes, and that was all Minato needed to see. It helped lift a great burden from the father's heart. His son didn't hate him, and was simply indifferent towards his father. Minato could try to live with that. I came here to congratulate you for passing the Chunin exams and acing them as well. You are a Chunin now. I know I have no right to even speak with you, yet I wanted to wish you luck in your life, said Minato seriously. You don't have excuse, Naruto, but the father raised his hand. Minato bent down and placed a scroll on the ground and saw Naruto becoming alert. Inwardly, he was happy to see that his son had kept his guard up even now. It was a trait of a fine shinobi. I know I have failed you, Naruto. And there is nothing I can say or do that can make up for it, but if you're ever in trouble, open this scroll, instructed Minato. And why would I do that? Asked Naruto skeptically, and saw a sad smile arriving on the father's face. I am your father, Naruto. Despite everything, I love you with everything in my heart. The iciness and contempt in Naruto's eyes wavered and the boy quickly closed those startling blue orbs. He pointed his tanto in the opposite direction, away from Yuzu. You should go, whispered Naruto. Minato nodded. With a heavy heart he started walking. Even in Yuzu nobody except for the Yuzukage knew that Minato was the boy's father. Kushina had also kept this fact a much guarded secret even in Konoha. Then a question arose in his heart that made the tall blonde stop and look back towards his son who was walking back towards his unconscious comrades. Why do you fight, Naruto? Asked Minato curiously. The boy stopped. With his back turned towards his father, the young redhead glanced up towards the sky full of stars and the bright shining moon. To gain the strength to freely accomplish my dreams. One could also say that it's the power not to take orders from people whom I despise or don't agree with, to be the master of my own life. Minato was left speechless by those words. It was his turn to stare at his son in surprise. Nobody knew it, but those words had changed Minato Namake's completely. They gave birth to his dream. The reason he couldn't keep custody of his own son, the reason he failed in saving Kushina from such a pain was because of the fact that he had been helpless and weak as a mere Chunin all those years ago. Compared to the Kages who made the decisions, Minato had been powerless. And on that day, Minato Namikaze had made a pledge to himself and the world. Naruto, I don't know where you are right now. But one day, I'll win the entire universe for you. With those determined words, the Namikaze got back on his feet and started walking away. A world war had started, and he would make sure Konoha emerged as the true victor, which would ultimately pave the way for accomplishment of his dreams. Though if there was one thing that Minato knew for sure was the fact that he would meet his son one day again. Kushina had been fondly caressing the photograph of her young son in her soft hands. The Yuzukage had recently sent her a picture of Naruto dressed in his Chunin uniform, a tanto fixed on his back and his face covered by a face mask. He looked so handsome. Yet at the same time, she didn't miss the cold, hollow eyes that stared at her from the picture. It were the eyes of someone who had never experienced love, and that fact too was forgotten with the sands of time. What she was looking at now was a determined and devoted assassin, whose only reason for existence was to serve Yuzu. Live for the village, die for the village. Her son had sworn that oath when he took up that uniform. Such path of violence and darkness was not something she wished for him, and yet it had happened. It was not as if she had tried to break away from him. It was the complete opposite. She had sent so many letters, pictures of her and Minato, and so many more presents on his birthday. And she only received silence in return. All these years right up to. She had never cursed her destiny as a Jinchuriki so much as today, to lose the most precious thing in her miserable existence. Naruto had been the one good thing that happened to her, and she threw him away. She could have fought harder, made more efforts to. If only she had done that, her son would have been alive today. Due to her and Minato's mistakes, Naruto lived a lonely life devoid of a family. And in the end, he died alone. She could still remember that dark night when a squad of Umbu forcefully took her child away from her. The Hokage and the Yuzukage had witnessed the exchange with a complete professional look in their eyes, A teenage Minato had also been standing beside Jiraiya. Unlike Kushina, he was not crying, and instead had his eyes closed. His fists had been clenched so tightly, and he never looked at her despite her pleas for help. The last memory of that dark night that she remembered was Naruto's crying voice, and then something hit her followed by darkness. Her only reason to exist now was to destroy the ones who killed her only son. She would use every ounce of her power and hatred to inflict carnage upon the 3 cowardly villages who had destroyed her clan, her people, her village, and her son. The wooden walls cracked due to the killing intent she had been radiating, and it would have escalated further if not for the series of rapid knocks on her door. Snarling, she got up and started walking towards the door. Hadn't she told those annoying Umbu that unless there was a mission she was not to be disturbed? I told you to leave me, Alo. Kushina couldn't complete her words as she saw the person standing at her doorstep with a wide, innocent smile on his face. You. Naruto stood on top of one of the large sand dunes, currently lying steadily in the sand. He simply observed the large structure before him. Akino was beside him, and the two of them were waiting for the bright moon in the sky to hide for a while. And that would be the moment they attacked. Akino had been silent all the time, only talking when Naruto responded. It had been 3 days since their attacks in Fire Nation, and the flames of war would now envelop 2 great nations tonight. Why is this world so twisted, Akino? She would have missed his question if she was not so alert right now. Even then, those words coming from Naruto of all people surprised her. Akino turned towards him, and saw a vulnerable look in his eyes. I wonder if my actions will change anything in this world. Or will they be just as meaningless as my own existence? Asked Naruto. Naruto. I want to achieve peace through force. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I want to believe that what I am doing today will help in making people understand each other, said Naruto, his voice soft and expression numb. I think people can only understand things that they've actually experienced, suggested Akino, and saw him smile a little. I understood what loneliness meant, and now I know what happiness and sadness means. What revenge means, what hatred means, but I don't know peace, Akino confessed Naruto, making her smile ruefully. Neither does the world know, suggested Akino, giving him an encouraging smile. Then I want to learn what peace is and teach it to the world as well. That's why even if the world rejects me, I'll keep on fighting, promised Naruto. Naruto blinked when Akino gently entwined her hand with his. He turned towards her and saw a strange light burning in her eyes. He froze when she looked back at him. Then let's fight together to learn peace. Both of them shared firm nods. Akino was startled when Naruto pulled her towards him and wrapped her in his arms. She placed her hands on his back. I'm never letting you go again. No words could describe how happy and satisfied she felt on hearing him say that. She knew the terror she had experienced when she was captured by those Konoha scum, and could only try to imagine what Naruto felt. He was the leader of their group of survivors, and he may not admit that out loud, but deep down he considered himself responsible for all those deaths. People often mistook him as the most strongest person in their team. While as a shinobi he was, but as a human he was the weakest of the trio. For Naruto, Nagato and Akino had been the closest thing he had to a family. You aren't getting rid of me that easily, Naruto teased Akino, as he gently broke the hug. He stood back on his feet and calmly observed the large Suna Dam in front of them. The modern invention was one of Suna's most crucial assets that was the lifeline of nearly 20% of its population. And Naruto was aware of the consequences of a direct attack on this place. For a few seconds, his grip on his tanto wavered as he tried to imagine the kind of suffering he would be inflicting on this world. Reforms, no matter how great or small, are never painless or without sacrifices. Akino saw his trembling stop as he took a deep breath. Naruto's blue eyes glanced at the now darkened sky. You guys may be satisfied with this world, I'm not. With those determined words, Naruto Uzumaki, dressed in the uniform of Konoha Umbu, now placed a bird mask on his face. Sharing one last glance with his fellow partner, he charged towards the dam. Akino quickly performed a set of hand seals and bit her thumb, followed by slamming her right hand on the sand. Kuchios no Jutsu, summoning technique. The silver-haired girl soared quickly into the dark sky as the vulture carried her higher and higher. The large creature easily camouflaged itself in the dark skies as Akino pointed her hand forward. Altris, we shall support him. Sync with me, commanded Akino, and joined her hands together. The large predatory bird cawed in response, signifying its acceptance of the order. Akino started channeling her chakra into the aerial summon as the bird quickly started flapping its wings wildly. On the ground, a pair of Suna Chunin guarding the outskirts of the dam saw a large sandstorm brewing at a distance. "Tell the others to take shelter," instructed the senior Chunin. "Will do. Man, what a mess. I'll also inform the engineers to take protective measures to safeguard the water," suggested the other Chunin. "You do that. Inform the guards not to mess around in this storm, they can be deadly." "Roger." As soon as the younger Chunin went off to carry his orders, the senior Chunin turned back only to see a human figure emerge from the shadows. Slash. A permanent horrified expression was etched in the Chunin's eyes as his head was severed off before he could scream a warning. Naruto quickly took cover behind the walls of the dam, as the blood of the now dead Chunin started drenching the sand. What most people didn't know was the fact that he had been one of the candidates selected to be a part of Yuzu's first Umbu force. Only the Yuzukage and his few aides knew this fact apart from the shinobi who were chosen for this unit. Unfortunately, their training was never fully completed and the village was destroyed. He could only imagine how different things could have been if Yuzu had developed an Umbu force just months before its last moments. It was one of their grave errors. Regardless of those mistakes, it didn't change the fact that Naruto had the skills and intelligence to perform assassination and infiltration missions. Talents he would be using tonight. He raised 2 of his fingers and 4 shadow clones of him appeared beside him, all of them having the same cold, calculated look in their eyes. "The enemy is taking shelter from the sandstorm Akino is creating. But she can't maintain it for long, we only have a 5-minute window to execute our mission," instructed the real Naruto. "Should we go in and eliminate the enemy forces? They'll be easy to kill now that they are hiding in shelters," suggested one clone. "That would take too much time," warned another clone. "The longer we take, the more Akino's chakra will get used up. We must keep her in mind as well," informed another clone. "If we attract too much attention, then the Suna forces will follow us. And we'll simply get trapped between theirs and approaching Konoha forces," warned the last clone. Before the clones could further continue their discussion, their original creator took out 4 scrolls from his pouch and handed one to each of them. "Spread out in all directions, place them across these points," informed Naruto, and pointed the directed points on the map. "Now!" The clones quickly saluted and started stealthily running in different directions to accomplish their objectives. Naruto placed his own scroll near one of the dam's giant walls. He then placed his finger on the communication device in his ear. "Akino, how are you doing?" asked Naruto worriedly. "It is taking more chakra than I expected, but I can go on," insisted Akino, making her friend grimace. "Understood." As soon as he cut off the link, he cautiously looked around for any signs of Suna forces. He saw the sandstorm which Akino was generating with her summon's help was closing towards the dam slowly and slowly. Since this was an actual event rather than an illusion, it had been enough to convince the Suna forces that they were not under attack and had calmly taken shelter. The sand village had been on edge these past few days since Konoha was building up massive armed battalions near their borders. However, since they were allies, no official battle had been initiated by Sand Village. With this, all bets would be off the table. War will be inevitable, thought Naruto grimly. He didn't like what he was doing, and deep down some part of his heart knew this was wrong. Yet he couldn't stop. He refused to be a part of a stagnant world where humanity was out of control. War could never be eradicated, that much was certain. What he could do was limit its occurrences and the need for it. Ninjas were mercenaries who fought for money, resources, and for their own desires. Except for a selected few, most of the ninja were dishonorable and worse than scum. It was his lifelong mission to eliminate such warmongering thugs and bring forth nations, military, and citizens that were more responsible, compassionate, and understanding towards each other. It was easier said than done, but he knew that it was not impossible. And if it could be done, then he was willing to bear every sin for that dream of peace. All charges set. The voice of his clones over the communication channel felt like the hammer of the gods descending from the heavens. It was easy to slaughter people when you're out of control, but extremely difficult when a person is completely in control of himself. Nobody knew this fact better than Naruto. Many people had lost their lives whenever his dark powers ran wild. Even as an assassin he had killed people. But what he was about to do now was something much, much larger and destructive. He was instigating war between 2 nations which would lead to death, destruction, sorrow, and loss to millions of people. In the end, he was not different from the ninja thugs whom he loathed. What shocked him was the fact that he had been fine with living in such a twisted world as long as he was safe. But when that had changed, he too had changed. It made him realize how wrong the world was, how wrong he had been, and the desperate need for change in the world. Nagato had been right in a way. He could only understand these things once he experienced that pain. For people to understand each other, they had to realize their mistakes like him. Just like the slaughter of his clan taught Naruto his mistakes, he would try to teach the world its errors. He quickly started retreating away from the dam's borders, and soon enough raised two of his fingers slowly. Boom! From the corner of his eyes he saw the structure starting to collapse slowly and the water spreading in every possible direction. The cries of the horrified Suna ninjas and civilians rang in his ears. Akino had been waiting for him at the end. The sandstorm along with her summon had been stopped as she watched the destruction they had inflicted on an entire nation with their actions. "We finally did it, didn't we?" asked Akino hesitantly. "Yeah," replied Naruto, his gaze fixed on the dark sky. "If you fight, people die. If you don't, even then they die. I guess it's true there's no right or wrong in this world," confessed Akino. Naruto's eyes widened as his sensory powers warned him of something massive approaching their way. Turning around, his worst fears finally came true as he quickly brought his tanto forward to block a strike from the grinning man. "You're damn right, brats." The first time Naruto's blade made contact, something inside his heart stirred. As the sparks flew everywhere and Akino gasped in shock, the Uzumaki understood something. The person before him was a monster. It was then Naruto's gaze landed on the man. Dressed in the uniform of Kiri Hunter Ninja, wielding a long, sharp sword. The man's face was covered by a Hunter Nin mask, and what was strange was that his skin was blue in color. In the small gaps of his mask, he saw the man was grinning, showing his shark-like teeth. And the level of chakra. "This is insane," thought Naruto dreadfully. The sheer chakra levels of this ninja was matching those of a bloody Kage. And his strength. He got a taste of it when with just a short grunt the Kiri ninja sent him tumbling away. Akino, realizing the situation, took out her own tanto and unleashed herself on the opponent with a fierce battle cry. "Akino, stop!" yelled Naruto in horror. The boy could feel the power in the man as he brought his sword down on Akino. Time seemed to have slowed down for Naruto, the horror of watching his close friend charge to her impending doom. Slash. Crimson liquid flew in the cold desert along with the sound of metal hitting skin. There were two strangled cries, one of pain and another of horror. All the while the Kiri ninja stared at the scene with a surprised grin. Akino roughly crashed on the ground, sending sand sailing all around her. As she stopped rolling, her mortified gaze landed on him. "Naruto!" Tears welled up in her eyes as the sound of his broken tanto hitting the sand reached her ears. There was a larger spray of blood as the crimson liquid spilled forth all across Naruto's left shoulder. But the most. "Stay focused, Akino. This one's out of your league," hissed Naruto painfully. Akino sniffed a gasp on seeing his entire left eye destroyed. There was a huge blast of chakra from Naruto which made their opponent jump away, creating some distance. "I won't let you harm her," promised Naruto, and bit back the unbearable pain from his torn flesh. His left eye was completely destroyed, but it was worth it. He still couldn't believe the amount of power in this Kiri ninja. Despite Naruto using all of his strength, he barely managed to place himself between the deadly sword and Akino. He had hoped that with his tanto he could have blocked the incoming strike, but the weapon had cleaved right through his tanto, thereby destroying his eye and tearing apart a large chunk of his body. Akino arrived beside him, tears falling from her eyes as she miserably stared at what he had sacrificed for her. "That's some speed you've got there, brat. Not to mention guts, you must really care about this girl," said the Kiri ninja curiously. "Bastard," snarled Akino. The silver-haired kunoichi was about to charge and was more than shocked when Naruto placed his injured arm in front of her, thereby blocking her way. "You're no match for him, even I don't think I am," confessed Naruto. His comrade flinched. He could still see the disbelief in her eyes. It was hard for him to accept this bitter fact, but it didn't change the truth. No matter how strong he and Akino were, they were Chunin. And this man was far stronger, faster, and more experienced. Naruto could feel it. If their opponent were to unleash his full power, then he could wipe the floor with them effortlessly. In comparison to the sheer amount of chakra possessed by the Kiri ninja, Naruto and Akino's combined chakra was that of a drop in an ocean. For the first time in his life, Naruto felt outclassed. Not only had he lost an eye, but a bitter truth had been presented to him. "You're weak," said the Kiri ninja calmly, making Naruto grit his teeth in pain and frustration. Beside him, Naruto could feel Akino's anger. She was a hothead, and watching her comrade being berated like this was getting on her nerves. She could not sense or realize the grave danger they were in. Plus, she was extremely low on chakra. After summoning her vulture, as well as creating that huge sandstorm, must have taken a great toll on her. The gears churned in his mind as he came to a single harsh conclusion. Naruto's lips twitched into a faint smirk as he closed his remaining eye. After exhaling a deep breath, he turned towards the silver-haired girl. "Take care of Nagato," said Naruto softly. Her eyes widened on seeing the look in his eyes, but by then his hand had connected with her neck and her vision went dark. Naruto caught her falling form, and then turned towards his opponent who was watching them curiously. "I get the feeling you want a good fight," suggested Naruto, as the man grinned. "True. Glad to see your cunning has not dimmed in the past few days. You are interesting ninja," complimented the Kiri ninja. Naruto narrowed his eyes. The message behind those cryptic words was simple. They had been followed. Now that he thought about it, the three great villages that had attacked Yuzu could have sent Hunter Ninja after the handful Uzumaki who had escaped the slaughter. It went to show that he had a long way to go, both in strength and foresight. He was still a Chunin, powerful but young. He formed a hand seal as a clone of him appeared beside him. After a brief nod, the clone took the sleeping Akino in his arms and started retreating back towards the borders of Konoha. Naruto curiously observed as his opponent made no efforts to stop the escape. As if reading his question, the Kiri ninja grinned. "I have no interest in weaklings. There is no human in your ragtag group of survivors that interests me, except you," said the Kiri ninja honestly, receiving a mocking smile from the young boy. "Oh, I'm flattered," said Naruto sarcastically. "So, you ready to die now?" asked the ninja in a bored tone. Naruto raised a curious eyebrow on hearing that question. "And what makes you think that?" inquired Naruto, and saw his enemy frowning. "You sent the girl away in a noble yet foolish way and are standing here to face me, thereby buying her some time," suggested the Kiri ninja, as if it was that obvious. The Hunter ninja's eyes widened as he hurriedly shifted to a side. Still, it was not nearly enough as something sharp tore through his leg. Blood again spilled on the endless desert as the Kiri ninja glared at his opponent. "You assume too much," said Naruto coldly, the kunai in his hand now sporting his enemy's blood. "You live up to your reputation," Shadow praised the Hunter ninja, even as blood flowed from his injured left leg that was sporting a nasty cut. "It's impolite to not introduce yourself," suggested Naruto, receiving a mocking bow from his opponent. "Kisame Hashigaki." Naruto raised his eyebrow. He would have to keep an eye out for this one from now on, that is if he could find a way to get out of here. Now that he had only one eye left, he had to be extra cautious. The rest of his wounds across his body slowly started to heal, much to Kisame's disappointment. "I'm not gonna die tonight," swore Naruto, as he picked up Akino's tanto that was left behind by her. "Bold words for a brat with one eye," retorted Kisame, and released a monstrous amount of Ki. Instead of seeing the brat fall to his knees and tremble, Kisame was met with an unexpected sight. The young Uzumaki started chuckling madly, and it was then the Kiri ninja saw the dark shrouds of chakra being released from the boy's body. Strange seals glowed on the tanto held by Naruto, and soon the weapon was engulfed in a bright light. After a few moments it died, and much to Kisame's surprise the previously small tanto had now transformed into a broadsword. "Uzumaki sure created very interesting toys," thought Kisame wickedly. For the first time Kisame was forced to acknowledge that the ninja in front of him was not ordinary. The sheer hatred and malice that made up Naruto's power would have been enough to scare any lesser ninja. For Kisame, it actually had the opposite effect. In a burst of speed, Kisame charged forward and slashed his sword clean through the boy's torso. As he skidded forward, he gasped in pain and shock when blood erupted from his own back instead. The shocked Hunter ninja turned back to see Naruto standing in a completely different position, his sword sporting the crimson liquid flowing through Kisame's body. "Looks like I'll have to go all out against you," said Naruto calmly. "Interesting," grinned Kisame. Kisame clasped his hands together, and Naruto felt a large amount of chakra being gathered. Right on time, the blue-colored man stepped forward and unleashed a powerful attack. Suetun Mizurappa, water style, violent water wave. A monstrous water wave at least 30 feet in length, and the same in width, was created by the Kiri ninja and sent straight towards the young boy. To think he can create so much water even in the midst of a desert. Hashigaki Kisame, you thought Naruto, the power of this man was truly magnificent. With a satisfied smile, the Uzumaki Chunin stepped forward and extended both of his hands forward towards the approaching target. Closing his single eye, he searched for the energy driving the attack and smirked. Kisame frowned when his attack stopped midway. "What?" said Kisame in shock. For his own attack was now rushing right back at him. Words were not enough to express the shock which Kisame felt now. Never in his entire life had such a thing happened to him. Not even a bloody Kage was capable of such a move. A Kekai Genkai, thought Kisame in horror. Quickly channeling a large amount of his chakra, he created another similar water wave and launched it in a desperate defensive measure. Both attacks collided with each other, wildly leading to the creation of a small lake in the midst of the barren desert. As hundreds of water droplets fell from the sky, Kisame hurriedly brought his sword upwards. Sparks flew as metal collided with metal. "This boy. Take this," yelled Kisame, slashing his sword straight towards the boy's head. Again the boy simply disappeared and re-emerged in a completely different direction, staring back at Kisame impassively. "What the hell is going on?" thought Kisame worriedly. His eyes widened when Naruto started charging back at him at frightening speed. Kisame's eyes darted left and right in order to keep up with the boy's movements, and even more when their blades started crashing against each other. Whoever had given this boy the name Shadow had been quite right. For right now Kisame was seeing image after image of Naruto appearing continuously around him. If not for his years of battlefield experience, Kisame was sure he would be dead by now. Meanwhile, Naruto was trying every move in his arsenal to eliminate his foe. The sheer amount of chakra he was using right now was reckless. He already had only half chakra reserves in comparison to normal Uzumaki, and was average at ninjutsu. In a battle of sheer power and ninjutsu, he was sure his defeat was imminent. Yet what Kisame didn't know that Naruto's greatest weakness was also his strength. He had very little need of ninjutsu, since his Kekai Genkai allowed him to use his opponent's attacks against them, provided they were within Naruto's ability to control. While Nagato was skilled at sealing, and Akino at genjutsu as well as medical arts. He was given extensive training in one art: chakra control. Not only was this skill necessary to control his dangerous power, but it also earned him the nickname the Shadow. And judging from the increasing desperate attempts made by Kisame was enough to show he was getting overwhelmed by Naruto's special move. He doubted anybody except a Kage-level ninja, Anbu, or one possessing a Sharingan could keep up with his movements. The only drawback for this monstrous speed was the enormous amount of chakra it consumed, which Naruto had little to spare. Unknown to Kisame, Naruto was also getting tired. Besides, fighting with just one eye was quite a nuisance. Both warriors jumped away from each other after clashing their swords wildly. Kisame was sporting numerous small as well as large cuts across his entire body, while Naruto had fallen to one knee, sweat rolling from his face and harsh breath escaping from his mouth. Suddenly, an unbearable pain washed over Naruto's young body and he furiously bit out a scream. "Your muscles can't handle this speed, can they?" asked Kisame knowingly, making the boy flinch. "They are strong enough to kill you," promised Naruto vengefully. "Perhaps, but you'll kill yourself in the process. And that'll be a nuisance," said Kisame flatly. Naruto remained silent. Despite it being the truth, he refrained from admitting such a thing. He was quite stunned when Kisame sheathed his sword. "What are you doing?" asked Naruto hesitantly. "I gain nothing from killing you now or dying uselessly in a suicidal battle," replied Kisame flatly. "I don't understand. Isn't it your mission to hunt down and kill the remaining Uzumaki?" questioned Naruto curiously, receiving a nod in return. "It is a mission of Kiri, not my own," admitted Kisame with a grin. Naruto lowered his own sword, now truly curious. There was something in this man's eye, something which Naruto very well knew. "You two aren't satisfied with this twisted world, are you?" asked Naruto knowingly. Kisame simply grinned in return, as Naruto's sword transformed back into the previous Tanto, and he sheathed the weapon. "I've watched your actions, your resolve, your power. You may be weaker than me but are far more cunning, am I right?" asked Kisame grinning. "Maybe," said Naruto mysteriously. "Tell me something. Why did you start the third great ninja war?" asked Kisame curiously. This time Naruto truly smiled. Despite having comrades, Akino and Nagato could perhaps never understand his vision or the path he had taken to achieve them. But perhaps this man. "There is no right or wrong in this world, Kisame. The only thing that matters is power," said Naruto honestly. "Power to rule?" suggested Kisame, sounding a little disappointed. Those are the dreams of a child or the naive ones. I have no desire to rule or get involved in such useless affairs. What I desire is change, confessed Naruto. Is that why you ignited war between Konoha and Suna? Yes, I have a plan which I believe will bring change. Kill, steal, borrow, threaten, bribe, charm. I'm prepared to use all possible ways for completing my goal, said Naruto proudly. Before Kisame could ask something or speak, Naruto fixed him with an intimidating look. Those are my goals. What I'm interested are your goals. The fact that you followed my group, observed me and my actions, are willing to abandon your mission for something else. What do you truly want, Kisame Hashigaki? Asked Naruto seriously. You are quite perceptive for someone your age, commented Kisame dryly, receiving a stern glare in return. I told you, nothing matters but power and one's ambition. You are either a lion or a sheep. What are you? Asked Naruto seriously. Let's say our visions are similar to an extent, said Kisame mysteriously, making the boy narrow his eyes in suspicion. Not good enough. Kisame smirked. The boy was sure persistent and stubborn. And rightly so. The next few moments were quite interesting for Naruto as the man in front of him explained his own dream in detail. When Kisame was done, the Kiri ninja looked him straight in the eye. I'd like to join this revolution you have started, confessed Kisame. And I am right in assuming that this battle was your test for me? Asked Naruto with a smirk. Yes. One more thing, why did you let the girl go? Give me an honest answer, said Kisame seriously, his eyes demanding nothing but the truth. Naruto sighed, but decided to give an explanation regardless. It was true that I let her go to protect her, but more so because she would only get in my way. Fighting you while protecting her at the same time would have been dangerous, and I'd already sacrificed much in doing so. No point in making the same mistake again, said Naruto bluntly, making Kisame chuckle. Too bad you lost your eye before that, taunted Kisame, but stopped chuckling when Naruto gave him a bemused smile, his eyes twinkling with mischief. Oh, did I? Asked Naruto mysteriously. When the boy reopened the destroyed eye, Kisame was shocked and amazed to see the eye was fully healed, and the only proof that it had suffered such a devastating blow was the scar on Naruto's skin, which would also probably heal with time. I can see why people were scared of your clan, commented Kisame wearily. Killing me is not as easy as people think, still I enjoy letting them chastise me for being young and weak. The looks on their faces when the tables turn is quite entertaining, said Naruto wickedly, earning a respectful nod from Kisame. Point taken. So, what is your answer? Demanded Kisame, looking the boy straight in the eye. Naruto fixed his gaze on the Kiri ninja for the next few minutes. No words were said as each looked into the other's eye, trying to understand whether the other was deserving of their trust. Become my eyes and ears in Kiri. Let me make this clear, you don't serve me or I serve you. We are accomplices, said Naruto with a smirk. And what if I betray you? Challenged Kisame with a devious grin. If he was expecting the boy to get flustered or angry, he was surprised when Naruto merely shrugged nonchalantly. To each his own, I guess, it's a free world, said Naruto slyly. I find it hard to believe that you are so careless about such an important matter, commented Kisame suspiciously. It works both ways, Kisame. If you are smart enough, then you'll understand that if you betray me, then you'll simply live a worthless life in this world and become the very thing you hate. I have no need of people who are sheep or snakes. What I desire are the few warriors who are my equals with the power and ambition to accomplish their goals. Are you that man, Kisame? Asked Naruto proudly. Kisame was left speechless. Throughout his life he had come across every kind of ninja. He had met the noble, the brave, the selfish, the coward, the wicked, the power-hungry, the greedy, the evil. Yet never once he had ever come across someone who was an equal. A soul who refused to bow or expected to be bowed to, a person who shared the same goals and was determined enough to see them fulfilled. But looking at this young boy, Kisame felt something stir in his heart. There was something about this boy that was inspiring. His eyes had so much glow that it was captivating. If there ever was someone Kisame would have liked to fight beside, then it would perhaps be this boy. Humans are so interesting, thought Kisame with a faint grin. He looked the boy right in the eye and asked with a faint smirk. So, what is your group of visionaries called? Asked Kisame mockingly, though Naruto detected no malice behind the words, just simple curiosity. Naruto thought for a moment, now that he realized he was yet to come up with a name for his group. Naming them after his clan would be insulting and attract too much attention. He needed something which matched with the change he wanted to bring in this world. He caught sight of a faint red glow in the sky. The clouds were slowly disappearing along with the vanishing moon, marking the arrival of a new day. Smiling, Naruto turned towards the grinning shark-like man in front of him, uttering a word which would soon shake the foundations of the ninja world. Akatsuki. In the dense forests of Fire Nation, a lone young boy silently sat on one of the countless trees present in the area. The afternoon sun rays were protruding the lands, and it was only the shade provided by the trees that somewhat protected him from the bright sunlight and the scorching heat. Still, his thoughts were somewhere else entirely. It may have just been close to half a day since that fateful day, yet everything in the boy's life had turned upside down since then. If one could look at Naruto right now, then they would find the sight of a frustrated person whose fists were tightly clenched, eyebrows deeply furrowed, his narrowed gaze staring at the shining tanto resting in his lap. Neither the afternoon heat or the occasional sound of wild animals bothered him the least. "You're weak." Those words continued to resonate in his mind, his heart every single second. His fists clenched further, nearly breaking his skin. He had been this close. The sheer thought that he had nearly died yesterday at the hands of an unknown ninja was humiliating. He had always believed that he was a capable ninja, not greatly strong but skilled enough. It was for these beliefs that yesterday's encounter with Kisame had been a rude shock for him. Yes, he had survived. But it was not important. Simply surviving was worse than defeat. It reminded him of the time he was forced to flee Yuzu while his home and countrymen burned, while his cherished Yuzukage and his handful warriors fought a suicidal battle. He had never shown it to his friends or the children that were still alive, but he was always angry. The screams of his dying clan terrorized him at nights, their misery never letting him rest. The others had somehow accepted this turn of events, yet he couldn't. He wouldn't. He had sworn vengeance. He had sworn to change things in this twisted world. Yet he was too weak to fulfill his dreams. If he could barely manage a stalemate with a hunter ninja, then he was not even worthy of facing a veteran Kage. He had escaped from Suna, sneaked right back into Fire Nation undetected with his secret powers. His plan had worked and fighters were mounting up on both sides of borders, and soon there would be war between them. Yet why did he feel defeated? He had sat in this position for hours trying to rethink about yesterday's events again and again. He had put a brave face in front of Kisame, which was enough to convince the shark-like man, much to Naruto's relief. He was not afraid of dying, he was a shinobi after all. Yet dying a pointless death without accomplishing his dreams seemed quite useless to him. Power. His eyes widened as he remembered him saying this word to Kisame. He grit his teeth on remembering how helpless he felt on seeing Akino nearly dying, Konoha Umbu killing his people, Yuzu getting destroyed. The leaves around him started to wither and turn to ashes as his anger flowed through his heart. Never again. Every great leader who changed the world had been powerful in their own right. Even those who couldn't accomplish their dreams had become powerful enough in their own right, making sure that the world remembered them and their ideals at the very least. The very best example of this fate were Hashirama Senju and Uchiha Madara. Naruto had no doubt in his heart that he was not even a little bit like Hashirama. His heart burned with too much anger, too much thirst for power, too much hatred and regret to become such a benevolent man. Neither was he slightly crazy like Madara, maybe somewhere middle. Yet he admired each of them for they become powerful enough. One accomplished his goals and changed the world, while the other couldn't, yet he left behind a legacy that made his clan even more famous. That was it. If he didn't want to feel helpless, if he didn't want to watch his friends die, if he wanted to avenge his clan and accomplish his goals, that he needed power. He had to become strong, he had to become more cunning and smart. To bring the change he desired, he would not only need individual power, but political, military, diplomatic and financial powers. At the same time, he had to make sure his remaining clansmen survived. He was not so sure about how long he would live, since his goals would put him right in the heat of conflicts and dangerous situations, so at the very least he had to make sure his friends and his people survived. And for that he had to become strong. His gaze hardened as he firmly picked up his tanto. Wallowing in the past would change nothing, he would use this humiliating encounter as a lesson and improve. That was the only way forward. And with those thoughts he again started his long journey back to their secret hideout where his friends were waiting for him. His clone had dispelled itself hours ago, informing him that Akino was safe. Although by the time the clone did reach the hideout, the silver-haired girl had regained conscious and the look in her eyes had promised bloody murder if he ever came back alive. he groaned. This is going to be quite an unpleasant day, muttered Naruto, as he started jumping across trees. Kushina curiously stared at the young boy currently seated at her dining table. Happily slurping his way through the ramen noodles in his bowl with a goofy smile on his face, young Obito Uchiha was the perfect picture of a bubbly young lad. She couldn't help but smile on seeing that the boy still wore the goggles she had got for him. It was nothing but a small birthday present, yet to see the boy cherish it till this day was heartwarming for her. At the same time, it made her heart sink a little as well, and her bitterness towards Minato increased ever so slightly. For the boy sitting in front of her was the younger son of her former lover. A year younger than Naruto, the black-haired Uchiha was the picture of what her son Naruto could have been had she fought harder to keep his custody. It was still hard for her to accept that Obito's birth was an unplanned event, just like Naruto's. She couldn't help but shake her head in disbelief. For all his talent, Minato was sure careless in some matters. A few months after Naruto was taken from her, she had blasted out at Minato in her usual hot-headed manner, leading to the end of their relationship. She could still remember how miserable Minato had been for not only having lost his son but also the love of his life. And it had led to a drunken night with Mikoto Uchiha. The Uchiha woman was 2 years younger than Kushina, and both of them had been good friends. Yet Mikoto was certainly not pleased with Kushina blaming Minato alone for their combined suffering, as if he was in any different position than hers. Kushina had felt betrayed at that moment, but looking back now she could understand where Mikoto was coming from. The Raven had always carried a torch for the blonde Namikes. And so Obito was born. Minato had never fully loved Mikoto, and they never married. Yet she could see that he had stepped up to his unplanned new responsibility, and helped Mikoto raise the boy currently sitting in front of her. This was the true reason for her hatred and bitterness for Minato, and to some extent for herself. Staring at the picture of her own son nearly made her tear up again. While she was truly happy for Obito having a good childhood and even cared for the boy, it still made her realize the boy had everything her son never had. And Obito's very existence reminded her of what her own son could have been, instead of the cold shinobi that stared at her with his emotionless eyes from the picture. If Obito was the light, then Naruto was the darkness. It was as simple as that for her. Despite all of this, she was grateful for having this little idiot in her life. Mikoto had been extremely kind in allowing her to be a part of Obito's life. Her friend had probably always known the hole in her heart that had been created due to Naruto's absence, and tried to fill it with Obito's presence. While not enough, it had given Kushina enough reason to live on in the hopes of reuniting with her own son someday. To have him meet his younger stepbrother and his father, she had always dreamed of it. Alas, it was never going to happen. A soft hand was placed on her wrist as the sensation of a lone finger brushing off the tears falling from her cheeks finally brought her out of her thoughts. She hadn't even realized she had started crying again, and was now the target of Obito's worried gaze. "Are you okay?" asked Obito worriedly, staring at her with his usual innocent eyes. "Yes, thank you," replied Kushina gently. It was not a good thing to let her sorrow fall on this boy. He deserved better. Obito fidgeted a bit, and she saw he was desperately trying to come to a decision. It actually reminded her of Mikoto, but after a few seconds the boy had made up his mind and his determined gaze was almost the same as Minato himself. "I don't think he's dead," said Obito carefully, eliciting a surprised look from the redhead Jinchuriki. Kushina saw the boy's gaze was fixed on Naruto's photograph. Minato had always been honest with his younger son and had revealed to Obito about the existence of his elder step-brother. Surprisingly, instead of feeling jealous, the Uchiha was delighted and had pestered his parents for months to meet his sibling. Alas, his wish never came true. Yet just like her, Obito always had a fantasy of his own of someday meeting this mysterious elder brother. It was childish, but then again he was young and had a good heart. His desire to accept Naruto had what made Kushina love Obito and allowed their strange relationship to grow. As the news of Yuzu's fall and her clan's demise spread in Konoha, he was the first to approach her. He had even brought ramen for her, which was a good gesture of support, and had expressed regret for what happened to her family. Kushina was quite relieved that Obito had promised not to extract vengeance on the 3 cursed villages who committed that brutal massacre. Although the boy did promise to oust the Kages, which was quite cute. It was her responsibility to avenge her clan, not Obito's. And now hearing him express hope about Naruto's survival made her heart rise. It was the first time anyone had said such a thing despite the impossible odds. Yet it also brought to light another scary thought. Could Naruto truly forgive Konoha, her and Minato, for not only abandoning him but letting Yuzu burn to ashes? One look into the eyes of the ice-cold boy in the picture was enough to give Kushina the answer. "I want to believe that too, Obi." But even if he's alive, I don't think Nero will want to come back after everything that has happened, said Kushina sadly, using the nicknames she had chosen for her boys. She blinked. Since when had she considered Obito as one of her own? But as she remembered the years spent beside this boy, watching him grow up, helping him become strong was enough to show that despite not being her blood, Obi was like her own little son. Cute, rebellious and... That's stupid! Yelled Obito. She smirked as Obito himself called out the word which she had in mind for him. That was not to say he was dumb, far from it. Yet, in a way, Obito had never seen the harsh world they all lived in. But his stubborn self refused to accept reality, and continued to believe in the peaceful world he always dreamed. Obi warned Kushina, before the boy went off on any of his long rants. I don't understand, Oba-san. We are his family, sure we may fight, but his place is with us, isn't it? Asked Obito hesitantly, receiving a smile from her. He's a peculiar one, that boy. The Yuzukage always told me Naruto had always been different from others his age. He did make friends and has compassion for those he cares about. Yet he never forgave either me or his father for not being there for him, and rightly so. Imagine growing up as an orphan on your own despite having parents? Asked Kushina patiently. Obito flinched. The defiant fire in his eyes dimmed considerably, as he imagined growing up all alone without the love of a family. Relying only on yourself, facing the world every day all alone despite having parents, it was a curse. Realization dawned on the young Uchiha, who finally understood the strained relationship his elder sibling had with his parents. His eyes shifted towards the picture of Naruto Uzumaki. The boy had always been a mystery to him. A part of him had trained hard to be a fine ninja when he heard about Naruto acing his Chunin tournament. And Obito just couldn't bear to see the sadness in Kushina's eyes. She really missed her son, and despite Obito's best efforts he knew he could not fill that hole completely. Kushina had always been kind to him, even spoiled him a lot. She was the one who gave him his awesome goggles, introduced ramen to him, helped him refine his ninjutsu, and most of all she truly believed and readily encouraged his dream to become Hokage. Kushina was startled when Obito looked her right in the eye and gently grasped her hand. I'll bring him back to you, I promise, said Obito fiercely, grim determination burning in his eyes. Obi, you don't, pleaded Kushina, not wanting to place such a heavy burden on this young child's shoulders. But Obito had already made up his mind as he shook his head. I'll drag him back to Konoha screaming if I have to. I won't accept anything less, declared Obito confidently. You've really set on this, aren't you? Asked Kushina with a resigned sigh, even as she suppressed the tears arriving in her eyes. Till the end, promised Obito. For the first time Kushina felt hope rising in her heart. A picture of an older, brooding Naruto embracing her and living the rest of his life with his family passed in front of her eyes. And looking into Obito's determined gaze made her wonder. Maybe you'll succeed where I failed, Obi. Naruto was not surprised to find Nagato waiting for him near the border of their small camp. After all, it was necessary that one of the trio was always on guard duty despite the powerful traps and seals they had set in every direction. His friend was giving him a tired smile as both of them exchanged a brief hug. You really like getting into trouble, don't you? Asked Nagato with a heavy sigh, as Naruto grinned. Life wouldn't be as exciting without them, replied Naruto cheekily, and saw Nagato lower his head in disbelief. That bad? Asked Naruto worriedly. If even Nagato didn't sound too cheerful, then it was definitely confirmed Akino had went nuts. I'll bury you afterwards, for old time's sake, said Nagato dramatically, receiving a mild glare from his best friend. Shut up. I'm used to your reckless ways, but not Akino. Why do you do this to her, Naruto? She low. Nagato flinched when he received a cold glare from Naruto. The fact that his friend had even raised his hand to stop him from speaking further went to show Naruto's reluctance in this matter. I've said this before, I have no time for relationships. I care for her and would not hesitate to risk my life for her, but my dreams are different from hers, said Naruto fiercely. Still after power? Asked Nagato knowingly, and was not surprised on receiving a proud nod. You are free to choose a different path if you like. I don't want either of you to follow me just because we're friends, said Naruto flatly. You know I've got your back no matter what. Same goes for Akino, replied Nagato confidently, making Naruto smile. I'm grateful for that. It's just that I don't feel what Akino feels for me, confessed Naruto, as Nagato sighed. Regrettable. You two would have made a good couple, teased Nagato. Team. Easy. I'll try to make her understand, but it'll take time, and you know how she is, reassured Nagato, making Naruto smile broadly. Thank you? She deserves better, although I don't have the heart to say this to her, replied Naruto honestly. Nagato stared at his friend curiously as a question arose in his mind. Deciding to ask it away, he looked his friend right in the eye. So what kind of girl would you like? I'm sure we can arrange something, eventually teased Nagato. Now you're doing this on purpose, sulked Naruto, earning a light chuckle from his friend. Humor me. Naruto wanted to protest. This just wasn't the time, and neither did he want to discuss such a useless topic. His friends were his closest allies, yet they didn't share his vision and were as fiercely devoted to it as he was. He didn't resent them for that, but it sure irked him sometimes. Maybe that was why he felt this strange sense of new camaraderie with Kisame. Sure, the Kiri ninja was crazy, but he understood. And that was what made the man extremely valuable to Naruto. He didn't need large armies or great wars to fulfill his vision. It could be completed with least bloodshed and less conflicts. All he needed were a few people like him and time, and he would make his dream a reality. Still, judging from the look in Nagato's eyes, his friend wanted an answer, and was not going to relent without one. And considering he would need Nagato to handle Akino, now more than ever made Naruto relent. It was better to have at least one of his best friends taking his side to conserve their group. Fine, said Naruto tiredly, and glared when Nagato grinned triumphantly. As Naruto dived into his mind to find out the traits of his desired mate, Nagato's eyes were observing his friend with a much deeper expression. Unknown to Naruto, he was being made a part of a secret experiment by Nagato. There had always been something about Naruto's psyche that was different, something damaged. Nagato had his suspicions, and today he was going to test them out. I don't know, said Naruto honestly, quite stunned with his own clueless answer and lack of desire. Nagato briefly closed his eyes. He was right. The boy standing in front of him may appear a normal person to most people, but something deep inside his friend was broken. Something which neither Akino or he could heal. The very first contact any male child had in life would always be their mother's in most cases. And Naruto's first contact with not just people, but against the fairer sex had been destructive on every level. The shock of being rejected by his own mother still haunted his friend till this day. And it was this secret reason why Naruto was so uncomfortable around people, especially females. The fear of being betrayed again terrified the boy. Nagato's heart sank a bit for both his friends. For Akino to fall head over heels for such a man, and seeing Naruto suffer every day. This helpless feeling always made him ashamed. He was not as strong as Naruto or understanding and smart as Akino. What could he do to help his friends? Naruto's plan to change the world would put his life in danger, but his friend didn't care for his own life since he believed nobody would miss him much once he died. It was wrong on every level, but Naruto was set in his beliefs. He had no reason to believe otherwise. If Naruto was to truly walk this path, then Nagato would follow him until the end. No matter what. But his friend deserved better. Akino deserved better.